Chapter 34. The stanzas of M. de Provence. While these events were passing in Paris and in Versailles, the king, tranquil as usual, sat in his study, surrounded by maps and plans, and traced new paths for the vessels of La Pérouse. A slight knock at his door roused him from his study, and a voice said, "May I come in, brother?" "The Comte de Provence," growled the king, discontentedly. "Enter." A short person came in. "You did not expect me, brother," he said. "No, indeed. Do I disturb you? Have you anything particular to say? Such a strange report." "Oh, some scandal?" "Yes, brother." "Which has amused you?" "Because it is so strange." "Something against me?" "Should I laugh if it were?" "Then against the Queen?" "Sire, imagine that I was told quite seriously that the Queen slept out the other night." "That would be very sad if it were true," replied the king. "But it is not true, is it?" "No." "Nor that the Queen was seen waiting outside the gate of the reservoirs?" "No." "The day, you know, that you ordered the gates to be shut at 11 o'clock?" "I do not remember." "Well, brother, they pretend that the Queen was seen arm in arm with M. d'Artois at 12:30 that night." "Where?" "Going to a house which he possesses behind the stables." "Has not your Majesty heard this report?" "Yes, you took care of that." "How, sire? What have I done?" "Some verses which were printed in the Mercury." "Some verses," said the Count, growing red. "Oh, yes, you are a favorite of the Muses." "Not I, sire." "Oh, do not deny it. I have the manuscript in your writing. Now, if you had informed yourself of what the Queen really did that day, instead of writing these lines against her, and consequently against me, you would have written an ode in her favor. Perhaps the subject does not inspire you, but I should have liked a bad ode better than a good satire. Sire, you overwhelm me, but I trust you will believe I was deceived and did not mean harm." "Perhaps. Besides, I did not say I believed it. And then a few verses are nothing. Now, a pamphlet like one I have just seen." "A pamphlet?" "Yes, sire, and I want an order for the Bastille for the author of it." The king rose. "Let me see it," he said. "I do not know if I ought." "Certainly you ought. Have you got it with you?" "Yes, sire." And he drew from his pocket the history of the Queen Antoinette, one of the fatal numbers which had escaped from Philippe and Charny. The king glanced over it rapidly. "Infamous," he cried. "You see, sire, they pretend the Queen went to M. Mesmer's." "Well, she did go." "She went." "Authorized by me." "Oh, sire, that is nothing against her. I gave my consent." "Did your Majesty intend that she should experimentalize on herself?" The king stamped with rage as the Count said this. He was reading one of the most insulting passages, the history of her contortions, voluptuous disorder, and the attention she had excited. "Impossible!" he cried, growing pale, and he rang the bell. "Oh, the police shall deal with this. Fetch M. de Crossen." "Sire, it is his day for coming here, and he is now waiting." "Let him come in." "Shall I go, brother?" said the Count. "No, remain. If the Queen be guilty, you are one of the family, and must know it. If innocent, you, who have suspected her, must hear it." M. de Crossen entered and bowed, saying, "The report is ready, sire." "First, sir," said the king, "explain how you allow such infamous publications against the Queen." "Antoinette?" asked M. de Crossen. "Yes." "Well, sire, it is a man called Retto. You know his name, and have not arrested him." "Sire, nothing is more easy. I have an order already prepared in my portfolio." "Then why is it not done?" M. de Crossen looked at the Count. "I see. M. de Crossen wishes me to leave," said he. "No," replied the king. "Remain, and you, M. de Crossen, speak freely." "Well, sire, I wish first to consult your Majesty whether you would not rather give him some money, and send him away to be hanged elsewhere." "Why?" "Because, sire, if these men tell lies, the people are glad enough to see them whipped or even hanged, but if they chance upon a truth." "A truth? It is true that the Queen went to M. Mesmer's, but I gave her permission." "Oh, sire," cried M. de Crossen, His tone of sincerity struck the king more than anything in the province had said, and he answered, "I suppose, sir, that was no harm." "No, sire, but Her Majesty has compromised herself." "De Cross, and what have your police told you?" "Sire, many things, which, with all possible respect for Her Majesty, agree in many points with this pamphlet." "Let me hear." "That the Queen went in a common dress, in the middle of this crowd, and alone." "Alone!" cried the king. "Yes, sire." "You are deceived, de Cross, and I do not think so, sire. You have bad reporters, sir. So exact that I can give your Majesty a description of her dress, of all her movements, of her cries." "Her cries." "Even her sighs were observed, sire. It is impossible she could have so far forgotten what is due to me and to herself." "Oh, yes," said the Comte de Provence. "Her Majesty is surely incapable." Louis XVI interrupted him. "Sir," said he to M. de Cross, "you maintain what you've said?" "Unhappily, yes, sire." "I will examine into it further," said the king, passing his handkerchief over his forehead, on which the drops hung from anxiety and vexation. "I did permit the queen to go, but I ordered her to take with her a person safe, irreproachable, and even holy." "Ah," said de Cross, "if she had but done so." "Yes," said the count, "if a lady like Madame de Lamballe, for instance." "It was precisely she whom the queen promised to take." "Unhappily, sire, she did not do so." "Well," said the king with agitation, "if she has disobeyed me so openly, I ought to punish, and I will punish. Only some doubts still remain on my mind. These doubts you do not share. That is natural. You are not the king's husband and friend of her whom they accuse. However, I will proceed to clear the affair up." He rang. "Let someone see," said he to the person who came, "where Madame de Lamballe is." "Sire, she is walking the garden with Her Majesty and another lady." "Beg her to come to me. Now, gentlemen, in 10 minutes we shall know the truth." All were silent. De Cross was really sad, and the count put on an affectation of it which might have solemnized Momus himself. Chapter 35. The Princess de Lamballe. The Princess de Lamballe entered beautiful and calm, her hair drawn back from her noble forehead, her dark penciled eyebrows, her clear blue eyes and beautiful lips, and her unrivaled figure, formed a lovely tout ensemble. She seemed always surrounded by an atmosphere of virtue and grace. The king looked at her with a troubled expression, dreading what he was about to hear. Then, bowing, said, "Sit down, princess." "What does your Majesty desire?" asked she in a sweet voice. "Some information, princess. What day did you last go with the queen to Paris?" "Wednesday, sire." "Pardon me, cousin," said Louis XVI, "but I wish to know the exact truth." "You will never hear anything else from me, sire. What did you go there for?" "I went to M. Mesmer's, Place Vendôme." The two witnesses trembled. The king colored with delight. "Alone?" asked the king. "No, sire, with the queen." "With the queen?" cried Louis, seizing her hand. "Yes, sire." M. de Provence and M. de Cross looked stupefied. "Your Majesty had authorized the queen to go. At least, so she told me," continued the princess. "It was true, cousin. Gentlemen, I breathe again. Madame de Lamballe never tells a falsehood." "Never, sire." "Oh, never, sire," said M. de Cross with perfect sincerity. "But will you permit me, sire?" "Certainly, monsieur. Question. Search as much as you please. I place the princess at your disposal." Madame de Lamballe smiled. "I am ready," she said. "Madame," said the lieutenant of police, "have the goodness to tell His Majesty what you did there and how the queen was dressed." "She had on a dress of gray taffeta, a mantle of embroidered muslin, an ermine muff, and a rose-colored velvet bonnet, trimmed with black." De Cross looked astonished. It was a totally different dress from that which he had had described to him. The Comte de Provence bit his lips with vexation, and the king rubbed his hands. "What did you do on entering?" asked he. "Sire, you are right to say on entering, for we had hardly entered the room." "Together?" "Yes, sire, and we could scarcely have been seen. for everyone was occupied with the experiments going on when a lady approached the queen and, offering her a mask, implored her to turn back. And you stopped. Yes, sire. You never went through the rooms? Asked M. de Crossen. No, monsieur. And you never quitted the queen? Asked the king. Not for a moment. Sire, Her Majesty never left my arm. Now, cried the king, what do you say, M. de Crossen? And you, brother? It is extraordinary, quite supernatural, said the count, who affected a gaiety which could not conceal his disappointment. There is nothing supernatural, said M. de Crossen, who felt real remorse. What Madame de Lamballe says is undoubtedly true. Therefore my informants must have been mistaken. Do you speak seriously, sir? Asked the count. Perfectly, monseigneur. Her Majesty did what Madame de Lamballe states, and nothing more. I feel convinced my agents were, somehow or other, deceived. As for this journalist, I will immediately send the order for his imprisonment. Madame de Lamballe looked from one to the other with an expression of innocent curiosity. One moment, said the king. You spoke of a lady who came to stop you. Tell us who she was? Her Majesty seemed to know her, sire. Because, cousin, I must speak to this person. Then we shall learn the key to this mystery. That is my opinion also, sire, said M. de Crossen. Did the queen tell you that she knew this person? Said the count. She told me so, monseigneur. My brother means to say that you probably know her name. Madame de la Motte Valois. That intriguer, cried the king. Diable, said the count. She will be difficult to interrogate. She is cunning. We will be as cunning as she, said M. de Crossen. I do not like such people about the queen, said Louis. She is so good that all the beggars crowd round her. Madame de la Motte is a true Valois, said the princess. However that may be, I will not see her here. I prefer depriving myself of the pleasure of hearing the queen's innocence confirmed, to doing that. But you must see her, sire, said the queen, entering at that moment, pale with anger, beautiful with a noble indignation. It is not now for you to say, I do or I do not wish to see her. She is a witness from whom the intelligence of my accusers, said she, looking at her brother-in-law, and the justice of my judges, turning to the king and M. de Crossen, must draw the truth. I, the accused, demand that she be heard. Madam, said the king, we will not do Madame de la Motte the honor of sending for her to give evidence either for or against you. I cannot stake your honor against the veracity of this woman. You need not send for her. She is here. Here, cried the king. Sire, you know I went to see her one day, that day at which so many things were said, and she looked again at the Comte de Provence, who felt ready to sink through the ground, and I then dropped at her house a box containing a portrait, which she was to return to me today, and she is here. No, no, said the king. I am satisfied and do not wish to see her. But I am not satisfied and shall bring her in. Besides, why this repugnance? What has she done? If there be anything, tell me. You, M. de Crossen, you know everything. I know nothing against this lady, replied he. Really? Certainly not. She is poor and perhaps ambitious, but that is all. If there be no more than that against her, the king can surely admit her. I do not know why, said Louis, but I have a presentiment that this woman will be the cause of misfortune to me. Oh, sire, that is superstition. Pray fetch her, Madame de Lamballe. 5 minutes after, Jean, with a timid air, although with distinguished appearance, entered the room. Louis XVI, strong in his antipathies, had turned his back towards her and was leaning his head on his hands, seeming to take no longer a part in the conversation. The Comte de Provence cast on her a look which, had her modesty been real, would have increased her confusion. But it required much more than that to trouble Jean. Madam, said the queen, have the goodness to tell the king exactly what passed the other day at Mesmer's. Jean did not speak. It requires no consideration, continued the queen. We want nothing but the simple truth. Jean understood immediately that the queen had need of her, and knew that she could clear her in a moment by speaking the simple truth, but she felt inclined to keep her secret. Sire, said she, I went to see him Mesmer from curiosity, like the rest of the world. The spectacle appeared to me rather a coarse one. I turned and suddenly saw Her Majesty entering, whom I'd already had the honor of seeing, but without knowing her to her generosity, revealed her rank. It seemed to me that Her Majesty was out of place in this room, where much suffering and many ridiculous exhibitions were going on. I beg pardon for having taken on myself to judge. It was a woman's instinct, but I humbly beg pardon if I passed the bounds of proper respect. She seemed overcome with emotion as she concluded. Everyone but the king was pleased. Madame de Lamballe thought her conduct delicate, and herself timid, intelligent, and good. The queen thanked her by a look. "Well," she said, "you have heard, sire." He did not move, but said, "I did not need her testimony." "I was told to speak," said Jean timidly, "and I obeyed." "It is enough," answered he. "When the queen says a thing, she needs no witnesses to confirm her, and when she has my approbation, and she has it, she need care for that of no one else." He cast an overwhelming look on his brother, and kissing the hands of the queen and the princess, and begging pardon of the latter for having disturbed her for nothing, made a very slight bow to Jean. The ladies then left the room. "Brother," said Louis to the count, "now I will detain you no longer. I have work to do with M. de Crosse. You have heard your sister's complete justification, and it is easy to see you are as pleased as myself. Pray sit down, M. de Crosse." Chapter 36. The queen, after leaving the king, felt deeply the danger she had been so nearly incurring. She was therefore pleased with Jean, who had been the means of preventing it, and said to her with a gracious smile, "It is really fortunate, madam, that you prevented my prolonging my stay at M. Mesmer's, for only think, they have taken advantage of my being there to say that I was under the influence of the magnetism." "But," said Madame de Lamballe, "it is very strange that the police should have been so deceived, and have affirmed that they saw the queen in the inner room." "It is strange," said Queen, "and M. de Crosse is an honest man, and would not willingly injure me, but his agents may have been bought. I have enemies, dear Lamballe. Still there must have been some foundation for this tale. This infamous libel represents me as intoxicated and overcome to such a degree by the magnetic fluid that I lost all control over myself and all womanly reserve. Did any such scene take place, Madame la Comtesse? Was there anyone who behaved like this?" Jean colored. The secret once told, she lost all the fatal influence which she could now exercise over the queen's destiny. Therefore she again resolved to keep silent on this point. "Madam," said she, "there was a woman much agitated who attracted great attention by her contortions and cries. Probably some actress or loose character." "Possibly, madam." "Countess, you replied very well to the king, and I will not forget you. How have you advanced in your own affairs?" At this moment Madame de Misery came in, to say that Mademoiselle de Taverny wished to know if Her Majesty would receive her. "Assuredly," said the queen. "How ceremonious you always are. André, why do you stand so much upon etiquette? Your Majesty is too good to me." Madame de Lamballe now availed herself of André's entrance to take leave. "Well, André," the queen then said, "here is this lady whom we went to see the other day." "I recognize madam," said André, bowing. "Do you know what they have been saying of me?" "Yes, madam. M. de Provence has been repeating the story." "Oh, no doubt. Therefore we will leave that subject. Countess, we were speaking of you. Who protects you now?" "You, madam," replied Jean boldly, "since you permit me to come and kiss your hand. Few people," she continued, "dared to protect me when I was in obscurity. Now that I have been seen with your Majesty, everyone will be anxious to do so." "Then," said the queen, "no one has been either brave enough or corrupt enough to protect you for yourself? I had first Madame de Boulonvilliers, a brave protector, then her husband, a corrupt one, but since my marriage no one. Oh, yes, I forget one brave man, a generous prince." "Prince, Countess. Who is it?" "Monsieur the Cardinal de Rohan." "My enemy," said the queen, smiling. "Your enemy? Oh, madam, it seems you are astonished that a queen should have an enemy. It is evident you have not lived at court. But, madam, he adores you. The devotion of the cardinal equals his respect for you." "Oh, doubtless," said the queen with a hearty laugh. "That is why he is my enemy." Jean looked surprised. "And you are his protégé," continued the queen. Tell me all about it. It is very simple. His Eminence has assisted me in the most generous, yet the most considerate manner. Good. Prince Louis is generous. No one can deny that. But do you not think, Andre, that Le Cardinal also adores his pretty countess a little? Come, Countess, tell us. And Marie Antoinette laughed again in her frank, joyous manner. All this gaiety must be put on, thought Jean. So she answered in a grave tone, Madam, I have the honor to affirm to your majesty that M. de Rohan... Well, since you are his friend, ask him what he did with some hair of mine which he bribed a certain hairdresser to steal, and which trick cost the poor man dear, for he lost my custom. Your majesty surprises me. M. de Rohan did that? Oh, yes, all his adoration, you know. After having hated me at Vienna, and having employed every means to try and prevent my marriage, he at last began to perceive that I was a woman and his queen, and that he had offended me forever. Then this dear prince began to fear for his future, and, like all of his profession, who seem most fond of those whom they most fear, and as he knew me young and believed me foolish and vain, he turned. He became a professed admirer, and began with sighs and glances. He adores me, does he not, Andre? Madam! Oh, Andre will not compromise herself. But I say what I please. At least I may have that advantage from being a queen. So it is a settled thing that the cardinal adores me, and you may tell him, Countess, that he has my permission. Jean, instead of seeing in all this only the angry disdain of a noble character, which she was incapable of appreciating, thought all pique against M. de Rohan, hiding another feeling for him, and therefore began to defend him with all her eloquence. The queen listened. Good. She listens, thought Jean, and did not again understand that she listened through generosity, and through pleasure at anything so novel as to hear any person defend one of whom the sovereign chose to speak ill, and felt pleased with her, thinking she saw a heart where none was placed. All at once a joyous voice was heard near, and the queen said, Here is the Comte d'Artois. When he entered, the queen introduced the countess to him. Pray do not let me send you away, Madame la Comtesse, said he, as Jean made a move to depart. The queen also requested her to stay. You have returned from the wolf hunt, then? She said. Yes, sister, and have had good sport. I have killed 7. I am not sure, continued he, laughing, but they say so. However, do you know I have gained 700 francs? How? Why? They pay 100 francs a head for these beasts. It is dear, but I would give 200 of them just now for the head of a certain journalist. Ah, you know the story. M. de Provence told me. He is indefatigable, but tell me how he related it, so as to make you whiter than snow or Venus Aphrodite. It seems you came out of it gloriously. You are fortunate. Oh, you call that fortunate. Do you hear him, Andre? Yes, for you might have gone alone without Madame de Lamballe, and you might not have had Madame de la Motte there to stop your entrance. Ah, you know that too. Oh, yes. The Count told everything. Then you might not have had Madame de la Motte at hand to give her testimony. You will tell me, doubtless, that virtue and innocence are like the violet, which does not require to be seen in order to be recognized. But still I say you are fortunate. Badly proved. I will prove it still better. Saved so well from the unlucky scrape of the cabriolet. Saved from this affair, and then the ball, whispered he in her ear. What ball? The ball at the opera. What do you mean? I mean the ball at the opera, but I beg pardon, I should not have mentioned it. Really, brother, you puzzle me. I know nothing about the ball at the opera. The words ball and opera caught Jean's ear, and she listened intently. I am dumb, said the prince. But, Count, I insist on knowing what it means. Oh, pray allow me to let it drop. Do you want to disoblige me? No, sister, but I have said quite enough for you to understand. You have told me nothing. Oh, sister, it is needless with me. But really I am in earnest. You wish me to speak? Immediately. Not here, said he, looking at the others. Yes, here. There cannot be too many at such an explanation. Then you mean to say you were not at the last ball? Aye, cried the queen. At the ball of the opera? Hush, I beg. No, I will not hush. I will speak aloud. You say I was at the ball. Certainly I do. Perhaps you saw me, she said ironically. Yes, I did. Me? Yes, you. Oh, it is too much. Why did you not speak to me? My FOI. I was just going to do so when the crowd separated us. You are mad. I should not have spoken of it. I have been very foolish. The queen rose and walked up and down the room in great agitation. Andre trembled with fear and disquietude, and Jean could hardly keep from laughing. Then the queen stopped and said, My friend, do not jest any more. You see, I am so passionate that I have lost my temper already. Tell me at once that you were joking with me. I will, if you please, sister. Be serious, Charles. You have invented all this, have you not? He winked at the ladies and said, Oh, yes, of course. You do not understand me, brother, cried the queen vehemently. Say yes or no. Do not tell falsehoods. I only want the truth. Well then, sister, said he in a low voice, I have told the truth, but I am sorry I spoke. You saw me there? As plain as I see you now, and you saw me. The queen uttered a cry, and, running up to Andre and Jean, cried, Ladies, Le Comte d'Artois affirms that he saw him at the ball at the opera. Let him prove it. Well, said he, I was with de Richelieu and others when your mask fell off. My mask! I was about to say, this is too rash, sister, but the gentleman with you drew you away so quickly. Oh, mon Dieu, you will drive me mad. What gentleman? The blue domino. The queen passed her hand over her eyes. What day was this? She asked. Saturday. The next day I set off to hunt. Before you were up? What time do you say you saw me? Between 2 and 3. Decidedly one of us is mad. Oh, it is I. It is all a mistake. Do not be so afraid. There's no harm done. At first I thought you were with the king, but the blue domino spoke German and he does not. Well, brother, on Saturday I went to bed at 11. The count bowed with an incredulous smile. The queen rang. Madame de Misery shall tell you. Why do you not call Laurent also? Said he, laughing. Oh, cried the queen in a rage, not to be believed. My dear sister, if I believed you, others would not. What others? Those who saw you as well as myself. Who were they? Philippe de Taverny, for instance. My brother? Cried Andre. Yes, shall we ask him? Immediately. Mon Dieu, murmured Andre. My brother a witness. Yes, I wish it. And she went to seek him at his father's. He was just leaving, after the scene we have described with his father, when the messenger met him. He came quickly, and Marie Antoinette turned to him at once. Sir, said she, are you capable of speaking the truth? Incapable of anything else, madam. Well, then, say frankly, have you seen me at any public place within the last week? Yes, madam. All hearts beat, so that you might have heard them. Where? Said the queen in a terrible voice. Philippe was silent. Oh, no concealment, sir. My brother says you saw me at the ball of the opera. I did, madam. The queen sank on a sofa. Then, rising furiously, she said, It is impossible, for I was not there. Take care, de Taverny. Your Majesty, said Andre, pale with anger. If my brother says he saw you, he did see you. You also, cried Marie Antoinette. It only remains now for you to have seen me. Pardieu, my enemies overwhelm me. When I saw that the blue domino was not the king, said the Comte d'Artois, I believe him to be that nephew of the Suffren whom you received so well here the other night. The queen colored. Did it not look something like his tournure de Taverny? Continued the count. I did not remark, monseigneur, said he, in a choking voice. But I soon found out that it was not he, for suddenly I saw him before me, and he was close by you when your mask fell off. So he saw me too? If he were not blind, he did. The queen rang. What are you about to do? Send for him also and ask. I will drain this cup to the dregs. I do not think he can come, said Philippe. Why? Because I believe he is not well. Oh, he must come, monsieur. I am not well either, but I would go to the end of the world barefoot to prove. All at once, Andre, who was near the window, uttered an exclamation. What is it? Cried the queen. Oh, nothing. Only here comes M. de Charny. The queen, in her excitement, ran to the window, opened it, and cried, M. de Charny! He, full of astonishment, hastened to enter. Chapter 37. An alibi. M. de Charny entered, a little pale, but upright, and not apparently suffering. Take care, sister, said the Comte d'Artois. What is the use of asking so many people? Brother, I will ask the whole world, till I meet someone who will tell you you are deceived. Charny and Philippe bowed courteously to each other, and Philippe said in a low voice, You are surely mad to come out wounded. One would say you wish to die. One does not die from the scratch of a thorn in the Bois de Boulogne, replied Charny. The queen approached and put an end to this conversation. M. de Charny, said she, these gentlemen say that you were at the ball of the opera? Yes, your majesty. Tell us what you saw there. Does your majesty mean whom I saw there? Precisely, and no complaints of reserve, M. de Charny. Must I say, madam? The cheeks of the queen assumed once more that deadly paleness, which had many times that morning alternated with burning red. Did you see me? She asked. Yes, your majesty, at the moment when your mask unhappily fell off. Marie Antoinette clasped her hands. Monsieur, said she, almost sobbing, look at me well. Are you sure of what you say? Madam, your features are engraved in the hearts of your subjects. To see your majesty once is to see you forever. But, monsieur, said she, I assure you I was not at the ball of the opera. Oh, madam, said the young man, bowing low, has not your majesty the right to go where you please? I do not ask you to find excuses for me. I only ask you to believe. I will believe all your majesty wishes me to believe, cried he. Sister, sister, it is too much, murmured the count. No one believes me, cried she, throwing herself on the sofa, with tears in her eyes. Sister, pardon me, said the count tenderly. You are surrounded by devoted friends. This secret, which terrifies you so, we alone know. It is confined to our hearts, and no one shall drag it from us while we have life. This secret, oh, I want nothing but to prove the truth. Madam, said Andre, someone approaches. The king was announced. The king! Oh, so much the better. He is my only friend. He would not believe me guilty even if he thought he saw me. The king entered with an air of calmness, in strange contrast to the disturbed countenances of those present. Sire, said the queen, you come apropos. There is yet another calumny, another insult to combat. What is it? Said Louis, advancing. An infamous report. Aid me, sire, for now it is no longer my enemies that accuse me, but my friends. Your friends? Yes, sire. Le Comte d'Artois, de Taverny, and de Charny affirm that they saw me at the ball of the opera. At the ball at the opera? Cried the king. A terrible silence ensued. Madame de la Motte saw the mortal paleness of the queen, the terrible disquietude of the king and of all the others, and with one word she could put an end to all this, and save the queen, not only now, but in the future, from much distress. But she said to herself that it was too late, that they would see if she spoke now, that she had deceived them before when the simple truth would have been of such advantage to the queen, and she should forfeit her newly acquired favor. So she remained silent. The king repeated, with an air of anguish, At the ball at the opera? Does M. de Provence know this? But, sire, it is not true. Le Comte d'Artois is deceived. M. de Taverny is deceived. M. de Charny, you are deceived. One may be mistaken. All bowed. Come, continued she, call all my people. Ask every one. You say it was Saturday. Yes, sister. Well, what did I do on Saturday? Let someone tell me. For I think I am going mad, and shall begin at last to believe that I did go to this infamous ball. But, gentlemen, if I had been there, I would have confessed it. At this moment the king approached her, every cloud gone from his brow. Well, Marie, said he, if it was Saturday, there is no need to call your women, or only to ask them at what hour I came to your room. I believe it was past 11. Oh, cried the queen joyfully. You are right, sire. And she threw herself into his arms. Then, blushing and confused, she hid her face on his shoulder, while he kissed her tenderly. Well, said the Comte d'Artois, full of both surprise and joy, I will certainly buy spectacles, but on my word, I would not have lost the scene for 1,000,000 of money. Would you, gentlemen? Philippe was leaning against the wainscot as pale as death. Charny wiped the burning drops from his forehead. Therefore, gentlemen, said the king, turning towards him, I know it to be impossible that the queen was that night at the ball of the opera. Believe it or not, as you please. The queen, I am sure, is content that I know her to be innocent. Well, said d'Artois, Providence may say what he pleases, but I defy his wife to prove an alibi in the same way, if she should be accused of passing the night out. Charles. Pardon, sire, now I will take my leave. Well, I will go with you. And once more kissing the queen's hand, they left the room. And a taverny, said the queen severely, when they were gone. Do you not accompany M. d'Artois? Philippe started. All the blood rushed to his head, and he had hardly strength to bow and leave the room. André was to be pitied also. She knew that Philippe would have given the world to have taken M. de Charny away with him, but she felt as though she could not follow to comfort him, leaving Charny alone with the queen, or only with Madame de la Motte, who, she instinctively felt, was worse than no one. But why this feeling? She could not love Charny. That, she told herself, was impossible. So slight and recent acquaintance, and she who had vowed to love no one. Why then did she suffer so much when Charny addressed words of such respectful devotion to the queen? Was not this jealousy? Yes, she thought, but only jealousy that this woman should draw all hearts towards her, while a whole world of gallantry and love passed her coldly by. It was no attraction to be a living problem, ever cold and reserved like André. They felt it, turned from her beauty and her intellect, and contented themselves with mere politeness. André felt this deeply, but on the night when they first met Charny, he showed towards her nothing of this coldness or reserve. She was to him as interesting as any other beautiful woman, and she felt cheered and warmed by it. But now the queen absorbed his every look and thought and left her lonely again. Therefore she did not follow her brother, although she suffered in his sufferings and almost idolized him. She did not, however, attempt to mingle in the conversation, but sat down by the fire almost with her back to the queen and Charny, while Madame de la Motte stood in one of the deep windows, nearly out of sight, although she could observe all that passed. The queen remained silent for some minutes. Then she said, almost to herself, Would anyone believe that such things pass here? Then, turning to Charny, said, We hear, sir, of the dangers of the sea and the fury of tempests, but you have doubtless encountered all their assaults, and you are still safe and honored. Madam, then the English, our enemies, have attacked you with their guns and their power, but still you are safe. And on account of the enemies you have conquered, the king felicitates and admires you, and the people bless and love you. Therefore, blessed are such enemies who menace us only with death. Our enemies do not endanger existence, it is true, but they add years to our lives. They make us bow the head, fearing, though innocent, to meet, as I have done, the double attacks of friends and enemies. And then, sir, if you knew how hard it is to be hated. André listened anxiously for his reply, but he only leaned against the wall and grew pale. The queen looked at him and said, It is too hot here. Madame de la Motte, open the window. Monsieur is accustomed to fresh sea breezes. He would stifle in our boudoirs. It is not that, madam, but I am on duty at 2 o'clock, and unless your majesty wishes me to remain. Oh, no, monsieur, we know what duty is. You are free, said the queen, in a tone of slight pique. Charny bowed and disappeared like a man in haste, but in a minute they heard from the antechamber the sound of a groan and people hurrying forward. The queen, who was near the door, opened it and uttered an exclamation, and was going out, when André rose quickly, saying, Oh, no, madam. Then they saw through the open door the guards assisting into Charny, who had fainted. The queen closed the door and sat down again, pensive and thoughtful. At last she said, It is an odd thing, but I do not believe M. de Charny was convinced. Oh, madam, in spite of the king's word, impossible. He may have thought the king said it for his own sake. My brother was not so incredulous, said Andre. It would be very wrong, continued the queen, not heeding her. He could not have as noble a heart as I thought. But, after all, why should he believe? He thought he saw me. They all thought so. There is something in all this, something which I must clear up. Andre, I must find out what it all means. Your Majesty is right. You must investigate it. For, continued the queen, people said they saw me at M. Mesmer's. But your Majesty was there, said Madame de Lamotte. Yes, but I did not do what they insist they saw me do. And they saw me at the opera, and I was not there. Oh, cried she, at last I guessed the truth. The truth, stammered the countess. Oh, I hope so, said Andre. Send for M. de Crossan, said the queen joyously. Chapter 38. M. de Crossan. M. de Crossan had felt himself in no slight degree embarrassed since his interview with the king and queen. It was no light matter to have a care of the interests of crown or the fame of a queen, and he feared that he was about to encounter all the weight of a woman's anger and a queen's indignation. He knew, however, that he had but done his duty, and he entered, therefore, tranquilly, with a smile on his face. Now, M. de Crossan, said the queen, it is our turn for an explanation. I am at your Majesty's orders. You ought to know the cause of all that has happened to me, sir. M. de Crossan looked round him rather frightened. Never mind these ladies, said the queen. You know them both. You know every one. Nearly, said the magistrate, and I know the effects, but not the cause, of what has happened to your Majesty. Then I must enlighten you, although it is a disagreeable task. I might tell you in private, but my thoughts and words are always open as the day. All the world may know them. I attribute the attacks that have been made upon me to the misconduct of someone who resembles me and who goes everywhere, and thus your agents have made these mistakes. A resemblance, cried de Crossan, too much occupied with the idea to observe the unquiet look which Jean could not for a moment prevent appearing. Well, sir, do you think this impossible, or do you prefer to think that I am deceiving you? Oh, no, madam. But surely, however strong a resemblance may be, there must be some points of difference to prevent people being so deceived. It seems not, sir. Some are deceived. Oh, and I remember, said Andre, when we lived at Taverny Maison Rouge, we had a servant who very strongly resembled me? Most wonderfully, your Majesty. And what became of her? We did not then know the great generosity of your Majesty's mind, and my father feared that this resemblance might be disagreeable to you. And when we were at Trianon, we kept her out of sight. You see, M. de Crossan. Ah, this interests you. Much, madam. Afterwards, dear Andre? Madam, this girl, who was of an ambitious disposition and troublesome temper, grew tired of this quiet life, and had doubtless made bad acquaintances. For one night when I went to bed, I was surprised not to see her. We sought her in vain. She had disappeared. Did she steal anything? Nothing, madam. You did not know all this, M. de Crossan? No, madam. Thus, then, there is a woman whose resemblance to me is striking, and you do not know her. I fear your police is badly organized. No, madam. A police magistrate is but a man, and though the vulgar may rate his power as something almost superhuman, your Majesty is more reasonable. Still, sir, when a man has secured all possible powers for penetrating secrets, when he pays agents and spies, and such an extent as to know every movement I make, he might prevent this sort of thing. Madam, when your Majesty passed the night out, I knew it, the day you went to see Madam at the Rue St. Claude. Therefore my police is not bad. When you went to M. Mesmer's, my agents saw you. When you went to the opera, the Queen started. Pardon me, madam, if I saw you, but if your own brother-in-law mistook you, surely an agent a crown a day may be pardoned for having done so. They thought they saw you and reported accordingly. Therefore my police is not bad. They also knew this affair of the journalist, so well punished by M. de Charny. And de Charny, cried the Queen and Andre in a breath. Yes, madam. His blows are yet fresh on the shoulders of the journalists. M. de Charny committed himself with this fellow. I know it by my calumniated police, madam, and also, which was more difficult, the duel which followed. A duel? M. de Charny fought? With the journalist? Asked Andre. No, madam. The journalist was too well beaten to give M. de Charny the sword thrust which made him faint here just now. Wounded? Cried the queen. How and when? He was here just now. Oh, said Andre, I saw that he suffered. What do you say? Cried the queen, almost angrily. You saw that he suffered and did not mention it. Andre did not reply. Jean, who wished to make a friend of her, came to her aid, saying, I also, madam, saw that M. de Charny had difficulty in standing up while your majesty spoke to him. Monsieur, said the queen again to M. de Cross, with whom and why did M. de Charny fight? With a gentleman who, but really, madam, it is useless now. The two adversaries are friends again, for they spoke just now in your majesty's presence. In my presence? Yes, madam. The conqueror left about 20 minutes ago. M. de Taverny, cried the queen. My brother, murmured Andre. I believe, said Cross, that it was he with whom M. de Charny fought. The queen made an angry gesture. It is not right, she said. These are American manners brought to Versailles. It is not because one has fought under M. Lafayette and Washington that my court should be disgraced by such proceedings. Andre, did you know your brother had fought? Not till this moment, madam. Why did he fight? If my brother fought, said Andre, it was in your majesty's service. That is to say, that M. de Charny fought against me. Your majesty, I spoke only of my brother and of no one else. The queen tried hard to remain calm. She walked once or twice up and down the room and then said, M. de Cross, you convince me. I was much disturbed by these rumors and accusations. Your police is efficient, but I beg you not to forget to investigate this resemblance of which I have spoken. Adieu! And she held out her hand to it with her own peculiar grace. Andre made a movement to depart. The queen gave her a careless adieu. Jean also prepared to leave when Madame de Misery entered. Madam, said she to the queen, did your majesty appoint this hour to receive Bamer and Bassange? Oh, yes, it is true. Let them come in. Remain a little longer, Madame de la Motte. I want the king to make a full peace with you. Perhaps she wished to pique Andre by this favor to a newcomer, but Andre did not seem to heed. All these tavernies are made of iron, thought the queen. Ah, gentlemen, what do you bring me now? You know I have no money. Chapter 39. The Temptress. Madame de la Motte remained, therefore, as before. Madam, replied Bamer, we do not come to offer anything to your majesty. We should fear to be indiscreet. But we come to fulfill a duty, and that has emboldened us. A duty? Concerning the necklace which your majesty did not deign to take. Oh, then, the necklace has come again, said Marie Antoinette, laughing. It was really beautiful, and Bamer. So beautiful, said Bassange, that your majesty alone was worthy to wear it. My consolation is, said the queen, with a sigh which did not escape Jean, that it cost $1.5 million. Was not that the price, and Bamer? Yes, your majesty. And in these times, continued the queen, there is no sovereign that can give such a sum for a necklace, so that although I cannot wear it, no one else can, and once broken up, I should care nothing about it. That is an error of your majesty's. The necklace is sold. Sold, cried the queen. To whom? Ah, madam, that is a state secret. Oh, said the queen, I think I am safe. A state secret means that there is nothing to tell. With your majesty, continued Bamer, as gravely as ever, we do not act as with others. The necklace is sold, but in the most secret manner in an ambassador. I really think he believes it himself, interrupted the queen, laughing again. Come, Bamer, tell me at least the country he comes from, or, at all events, the first letter of his name. Madam, it is the ambassador from Portugal, said Bamer, in a low voice, that Madame de la Motte might not hear. The ambassador from Portugal, said the queen. There is none here, Bamer. He came expressly for this, madam. Do you imagine so? Yes, madam. What is his name? M. de Souza. The Queen did not reply for a few minutes, and then said, Well, so much the better for the Queen of Portugal. Let us speak of it no more. But allow us one moment, madam, said Baymer. Have you ever seen those diamonds? Said the Queen to Jean. No, madam. They are beautiful. It is a pity these gentlemen have not brought them. Here they are, said Baymer, opening the case. Come, Countess, you are a woman, and these will please you. Jean uttered a cry of admiration when she saw them, and said, They are indeed beautiful. 1,500,000 francs, which you hold in the palm of your hand, said the Queen. Monsieur was right, said Jean, when he said that no one was worthy to wear these diamonds but your Majesty. However, my Majesty will not wear them. We could not let them leave France without expressing our regret to your Majesty. It is a necklace which is now known all over Europe, and we wish to know definitively that your Majesty really refused it before we parted with it. My refusal has been made public, said the Queen, and has been too much applauded for me to repent of it. Oh, madam, said Baymer, if the people found it admirable that your Majesty preferred a ship of war to a necklace, the nobility at least would not think it surprising if you bought the necklace after all. Do not speak of it any more, said Marie Antoinette, casting at the same time a longing look at the casket. Jean sighed. Ah, you sigh, Countess. In my place you would act differently. I do not know, madam. Have you looked enough? Oh, no. I could look forever. Let her look, gentlemen. That takes nothing from the value. Unfortunately, they are still worth 1,500,000 francs. Oh, thought Jean. She is regretting it. And she said, On your neck, madam. They would make all women die with jealousy, were they as beautiful as Cleopatra or Venus. And, approaching, she clasped it round her neck. Ah, your Majesty is beautiful so. The Queen turned to the mirror. It was really splendid. Everyone must have admired. Marie Antoinette forgot herself for a time in admiration. Then, seized with fear, she tried to take it off. It has touched your Majesty's neck. It ought not to belong to anyone else, said Baymer. Impossible, said the Queen, firmly. Gentlemen, I have amused myself with these jewels. To do more would be a fault. We will return tomorrow, said Baymer. No, I must pay sooner or later. And besides, doubtless you want your money. You will get it soon. Yes, your Majesty, said the merchant, a man of business again. Take the necklace back, said the Queen. Put away immediately. Your Majesty forgets that such a thing is equal to money itself, and that in 100 years it will be worth as much as it is now, said Jean. Give me 1,500,000 francs, said the Queen, and we shall see. Oh, if I had them. Baymer and Bassange took as long as possible to put back the necklace, but the Queen did not speak. At last they said, Your Majesty refuses them? Yes, oh yes. And they quitted the room. Marie Antoinette remained sitting, looking rather gloomy and beating with her foot in an impatient manner. At last she said, Countess, it seems the king will not return. We must defer our supplication till another time. Jean bowed respectfully. But I will not forget you, added the Queen. She is regretting and desiring, thought Jean as she left, and yet she is a queen. Chapter 40. Two ambitions that wish to pass for two loves. When Jean returned to her pretty little house in the Faubourg, it was still early, so she took a pen and wrote a few rapid lines, enclosed in a perfumed envelope, and rang the bell. Take this letter to Monseigneur the Cardinal de Rohan, said she. In 5 minutes the man returned. Well, said Madame de la Motte impatiently, why are you not gone? Just as I left the house, madam, His Eminence came to the door. I told him I was about to go to his hotel with a letter from you. He read it, and is now waiting to come in. Let him enter, said the Countess. Jean had been thinking all the way home of the beautiful necklace, and wishing it was hers. It would be a fortune in itself. The Cardinal entered. He also was full of desires and ambitions, which he wished to hide under the mask of love. Ah, dear Jean, said he, you have really become so necessary to me that I have been gloomy all day knowing you to be so far off. But you have returned for Versailles? As you see, Monseigneur. End content. Enchanted? The Queen received you, then? I was introduced immediately on my arrival. You were fortunate. I suppose, from your triumphant air, that she spoke to you. I passed 3 hours in Her Majesty's cabinet. 3 hours. You are really an enchantress whom no one can resist. But perhaps you exaggerate. 3 hours, he repeated. How many things a clever woman like you might say in 3 hours? Oh, I assure you, Monseigneur, that I did not waste my time. I dare say that in the whole 3 hours you did not once think of me. Ungrateful man! Really, cried the cardinal, I did more than think of you. I spoke of you. Spoke of me. To whom? Asked the prelate, in a voice from which all his power over himself could not banish some emotion. To whom should it be but to the Queen? Ah! Dear Countess, tell me about it. I interest myself so much in all that concerns you that I should like to hear the most minute details. Jean smiled. She knew what interested the cardinal, as well as he did himself. Then she related to him all the circumstances which had so fortunately made her, from a stranger, almost a friend and confidant of the Queen. Scarcely had she finished, when the servant entered to announce supper. Jean invited the cardinal to accompany her. He gave her his arm, and they went in together. During supper, the cardinal continued to drink in long draughts of love and hope from the recitals which Jean kept making to him from time to time. He remarked also, with surprise, that instead of making herself sought like a woman that knows that you have need of her, she had thrown off all her former pride, and only seemed anxious to please him. She did the honors of her table as if she had all her life mixed in the highest circles. There was neither awkwardness nor embarrassment. Countess, said he at length, there are 2 women in you. How so? One of yesterday and another of today. And which does your excellency prefer? I do not know, but at least the one of this evening is a Circe, a something irresistible, and which you will not attempt to resist. I hope, prince as you are. The cardinal imprinted a long kiss on her hand. Chapter 41. Faces under their masks. 2 hours had elapsed, and the conversation still continued. The cardinal was now the slave, and Jean was triumphant. 2 men often deceive each other as they shake hands, a man and a woman as they kiss. But here, each only deceived the other because they wished to be deceived. Each had an end to gain, and for that end intimacy was necessary. The cardinal now did not demonstrate his impatience, but always managed to bring back the conversation to Versailles, and to the honors which awaited the Queen's new favorite. She is generous, said he, and spares nothing toward those she loves. She has the rare talent of giving a little to everyone, and a great deal to a few. You think, then, she is rich? She makes resources with a word or a smile. No minister, except perhaps to go, ever refuse her anything. Well, said Madame de Lamotte, I have seen her poorer than you think. What do you mean? Are those rich who are obliged to impose privations on themselves? Privations? What do you mean, dear Countess? I will tell you what I saw. I saw the Queen suffer. Do you know what a woman's desire is, my dear Prince? No, Countess, but I should like you to tell me. Well, the Queen has a desire which she cannot satisfy. For what? For a diamond necklace. Oh, I know what you mean. The diamond in them, Bamer and Bassenge. Precisely. That is an old story, Countess. Old or new, it is a real vexation for a queen not to be able to buy what was intended for a simple favorite. 15 more days added to the life of Louis XV, and Jean Vaubernier would have had what Marie Antoinette cannot buy. My dear Countess, you mistake. The Queen could have had it, and she refused it. The King offered them to her, and he recounted the history of the ship of war. Well, said she, after all, what does that prove? That she did not want them, it seems to me. Jean shrugged her shoulders. You know women in courts, and believe that? The Queen wanted to do a popular act, and she has done it. Good, said the cardinal. That is how you believe in the royal virtues. Ah, skeptic. St. Thomas was credulous. Compared to you, skeptic or not, I can assure you of one thing, that the Queen had no sooner refused it than she earnestly desired to have it. You imagine all this. My dear Countess, for the Queen has one quality more than another. It is disinterestedness. She does not care for gold or jewels, and likes a simple flower as well as a diamond. I do not know that. I only know she wishes for this necklace. Prove it, Countess. It is easy. I saw the necklace and touched it. Where? At Versailles, when the jewelers brought it for the last time to try and tempt the Queen. And it is beautiful? Marvelous. I, who am a woman, think that one might lose sleep and appetite in wishing for it. Alas, why have I not a vessel to give the king? A vessel? Yes, for in return he would give me the necklace, and then you could eat and sleep in peace. You laugh. No, really. Well, I will tell you something that will astonish you. I would not have the necklace. So much the better, Countess, for I cannot give it to you. Neither you nor anyone. That is what the Queen feels. But I tell you that the king offered it to her. And I tell you that women like best those presents that come from people from whom they are not forced to accept them. I do not understand you. Well, never mind. And after all, what does it matter to you, since you cannot have it? Oh, if I were king and you were queen, I would force you to have it. Well, without being king, oblige the queen to have it, and see if she is angry, as you suppose she would be. The cardinal looked at her with wonder. You are sure, said he, that you are not deceived and that the queen wishes for it? Intensely. Listen, dear prince, did you tell me, or where did I hear it, that you would like to be minister? You may have heard me say so, Countess. Well, I will bet that the Queen would make that man a minister who would place the necklace on her toilet within a week. Oh, Countess, I say what I think. Would you rather I kept silent? Certainly not. However, it does not concern you, after all. It is absurd to suppose that you would throw away $1.5 million on a royal caprice. That would be paying too dearly for portfolio, which you ought to have for nothing. So think no more what I have said. The cardinal continued silent and thoughtful. Ah, you despise me now, continued she. You think I judge the Queen by myself. So I do. I thought she wanted these diamonds because she sighed as she looked at them, and because in her place I should have coveted them. You are an adorable woman, Countess. You have, by a wonderful combination, softness of mind and strength of heart. Sometimes you are so little of a woman that I am frightened. At others, so charmingly so, that I bless heaven and you for it. And now we will talk of business no more. So be it, thought Jean, but I believe the bait has taken nevertheless. Indeed, although the cardinal said, speak of it no more. In a few minutes he asked, does not Bamer live somewhere on the Quai de la Forêt near the Pont Neuf? Yes, you are right. I saw the name on the door as I drove along. Jean was not mistaken. The fish had taken hook, and the next morning the cardinal drove to M. Bamer. He intended to preserve his incognito, but they knew him, and called him Monseigneur directly. Well, gentlemen, said he, if you know me, keep my secret from others. Monseigneur may rely upon us. What can we do for your eminence? I come to buy the necklace which you showed Her Majesty. Really, we are in despair, but it is too late. How so? It is sold. Impossible, as you offered it only yesterday to the Queen, who again refused it. So our other bargain held good. And with whom was this bargain? It is secret, Monseigneur. Too many secrets, M. Bamer, said he, rising. But I should have thought that a French jeweler would prefer selling these beautiful stones in France. You prefer Portugal, very well. Monseigneur knows that, cried the jeweler. Well, is that astonishing? No one knew it but the Queen. And if that were so, said M. de Rohan without contradicting a supposition that flattered him. Ah, that would change matters. Why so, sir? May I speak freely? Certainly. The Queen wishes for the necklace. You think so? I am sure of it. Then why did she not buy it? Because she had already refused the king, and she thought it would look capricious to buy it now. But the king wished her to have it. Yes, but he thanked her for refusing. Therefore I think she wishes to have it, without seeming to buy it. Well, you are wrong, sir. I am sorry for it, Monseigneur. It would have been our only excuse for breaking our word to the Portuguese ambassador. The cardinal reflected for a moment. Then, sir, let us suppose that the queen wishes for your necklace. Oh, in that case, Monseigneur, we would break through anything that she should have it. What is the price? 1,500,000 francs. How do you want payment? The Portuguese was to give 100,000 francs down, and I was to take the necklace myself to Lisbon, where the balance was to be paid. Well, the 100,000 francs down you shall have. That is reasonable. As for the rest, your eminence wishes for time? With such a guarantee, we should not object. Only credit implies a loss. The interest of our money must be considered. Well, call it 1,600,000 francs and divide the time of payment into 3 periods, making a year. That would be a loss to us, sir. Oh, nonsense. If I paid you the whole amount tomorrow, you would hardly know what to do with it. There are 2 of us, Monseigneur. Well, you will receive 500,000 francs every 4 months. That ought to satisfy you. Monseigneur forgets that these diamonds do not belong to us. If they did, we should be rich enough to wait. They belong to a dozen different creditors. We got some from Hamburg, some from Naples, one at Buenos Aires, and one at Moscow. All these people wait for the sale of the necklace to be paid. The profit that we make is all that will be ours, and we have already had it 2 years on hand. De Rohan interrupted him. After all, said he, I have not seen the necklace. True, Monseigneur, here it is. It is really superb, cried the cardinal. It is a bargain. Yes, Monseigneur. I must go to the ambassador and excuse myself. I did not think there was a Portuguese ambassador just now. De Souza arrived incognito. To buy this necklace? Yes, Monseigneur. Oh, poor Souza, I know him well, said he, laughing. With whom am I to conclude the transaction? Asked Bamer. With myself. You will see no one else. Tomorrow I will bring the 100,000 francs, and will sign the agreement. And as you are a man of secrets, Bamer, remember that you now possess an important one. Monseigneur, I feel it, and will merit your confidence in the Queen's. De Rohan went away happy, like all men who ruin themselves in a transport of passion. The next day, Bamer went to the hotel of the Portuguese ambassador. At the moment he knocked at the door, Beausire was going through some accounts with de Corno, while Don Manuel was taking over some new plan with the valet, his associate. De Corno was charmed to find an ambassador so free from national prejudice as to form his whole establishment of Frenchmen. Thus his conversation was full of praises of him. The Souzas, you see, replied Beausire, are now the old school of Portuguese. They are great travelers, very rich, who might be kings if they liked. And do they not? Why should they? With a certain number of millions, in the name of a prince, one is better than a king. Ah, Portugal will soon become great with such men at its head. But when is the presentation to take place? It is most anxiously looked for. The people around begin to talk of it, and to collect about the doors of the hotel, as though they were glass, and they could see through. Do you mean the people of the neighborhood? Asked Beausire. And others, for the mission of de Souza being a secret one, you may be sure the police would soon interest themselves about it. And look, continued de Corno, leading Beausire to the window. Do you see that man in the brown surtout? How he looks at the house? Yes, he does indeed. Who do you take him to be? Probably a spy of de Crossan. However, between ourselves, de Crossan is not equal to Sartans. Did you know him? No. He would have found out all about you long ago, in spite of all your precautions. A bell rang. His Excellency rings, said Beausire, who was beginning to feel embarrassed by the conversation, and opening the door quickly. He nearly knocked down 2 of the clerks who were listening. Chapter 42, in which de Corno understands nothing of what is passing. Don Manuel was less yellow than usual, that is to say, he was more red. He had just been having a fierce altercation with his valet, and they were still disputing when Beausire entered. Come, Beausire, and set us right, said the valet. About what? This 100,000 francs. It is the property of the association, is it not? Certainly. Ah, M. Beausire agrees with me. Wait, said Don Manuel. Well then, continued the valet, the chest ought not to be kept close to the ambassador's room. Why not? Asked Beausire. Manuel ought to give us each a key to it. Not so, said Manuel. Do you suspect me of wishing to rob the association? I may equally suspect you when you ask for a key. But, said the valet, we have all equal rights. Really, monsieur, if you wish to make us all equal, we ought to have played the ambassador in turn. It would have been less plausible in the eyes of the public, but it would have satisfied you. And besides, said Beausire, Manuel has the incontestable privilege of the inventor. Oh, replied the valet, the thing once started, there are no more privileges. I do not speak for myself only. All our comrades think the same. They are wrong, said both Manuel and Beausire. I was wrong myself to take the opinion of Beausire. Of course the secretary supports the ambassador. Monsieur, replied Beausire, you are a knave, whose ears I would slit if it had not already been done too often. You insult me by saying that I have an understanding with Manuel. And me also, said Manuel. And I demand satisfaction, added Beausire. Oh, I am no fighter. So I see, said Beausire, seizing hold of him. Help! Help! Cried the valet, attacked at once by both of them. But just then they heard a bell ring. Leave him, and let him open the door, said Manuel. Our comrades shall hear all this, replied the valet. Tell them what you please. We will answer for our conduct. Bamer, cried the porter from below. Well, we shall have no more contest about the 100,000 francs, said Manuel, for they will disappear with Bamer. Bamer entered, followed by Bassange. Both looked humble and embarrassed. Bamer began and explained that political reasons would prevent their fulfilling their contract. Manuel cried out angrily. Beausire looked fierce. Manuel said that the bargain was completed and the money ready. Bamer persisted. Manuel, always through Beausire, replied that his government had been apprised of the conclusion of the bargain, and that it was an insult to his queen to break it off. Bamer was very sorry, but it was impossible to act otherwise. Beausire, in Manuel's name, refused to accept the retractation and abused Bamer as a man without faith, and ended by saying, "You have found someone to pay more for it." The jewelers colored. Beausire saw that he was right, and feigned to consult his ambassador. "Well," said he at length, "if another will give you more for your diamonds, we would do the same, rather than have this affront offered to our queen. Will you take 50,000 francs more?" Bamer shook his head. 100,000 or even 150,000, continued Beausire, willing to offer anything rather than lose the booty. The jewelers looked dazzled for a moment, consulted together, and then said, "No, monsieur, it is useless to tempt us. A will more powerful than our own compels us to decline. You understand, no doubt, that it is not we who refuse. We only obey the orders of one greater than any of us." Beausire and Manuel saw that it was useless to say more, and tried to look and speak indifferently on the matter. Meanwhile, the valet had been listening attentively, and just then making an unlucky movement, stumbled against the door. Beausire ran to the antechamber. "What on earth are you about?" cried he. "Monsieur, I bring the morning dispatches." "Good," said Beausire, taking them from him. "Now go." They were letters from Portugal, generally very insignificant, but which, passing through their hands before going to Corno, often gave them useful information about the affairs of the embassy. The jewelers, hearing the word dispatches, rose to leave like men who had received their congé. "Well," said Manuel when they were gone, "we are completely beaten. Only 100,000 francs, a poor spoil. We shall have but 8,000 each. It is not worth the trouble, but it might be 50,000 each." "Good," replied Manuel, "but the valet will never leave us now he knows the affair has failed." "Oh, I know how we will manage him. He will return immediately and claim his share and that of his comrades, and we shall have the whole house on our hands. Well, I will call him first to a secret conference. then leave me to act. I think I understand, said Manol. Neither, however, would leave his friend alone with the chest while he went to call him. Manol said that his dignity as ambassador prevented him from taking such a step. You are not ambassador to him, said Beausire. However, I will call through the window. The valet, who was just beginning a conversation with the porter, hearing himself called, came up. Beausire said to him, with a smiling air, I suppose you were telling this business to the porter? Oh, no. Are you sure? I swear. For if you were committing a great folly and have lost a great deal of money. How so? Why? At present only we three know the secret, and could divide the 100,000 francs between us, as they all now think we have given it to M. Bamer. Morbleu, cried the valet. It is true, 33,300 francs each. Then you accept? I should think so. I said you were a rogue, said Beausire, in a thundering voice. Come, Don Manol, help me to seize this man, and give him up to our associates. Pardon, cried the unfortunate. I did but jest. Shut him up until we can devise his punishment. The man began to cry out. Take care, said Beausire, that de Corno does not hear us. If you do not leave me alone, said the valet, I will denounce you all. And I will strangle you, said Don Manol. Try to push him into a neighboring closet. Send away de Corno somewhere, Beausire, while I finish this fellow. When he had locked him up, he returned to the room. Beausire was not there. Don Manol felt tempted. He was alone, and Beausire might be some little time. He could open the chest, take out all the banknotes, and be off in 2 minutes. He ran to the room where it was. The door was locked. Ah, thought he. Beausire distrusted me, and locked the door before he went. He forced back the lock with his sword, and then uttered a terrible cry. The chest was opened and empty. Beausire had got, as we know, a second key. He had forestalled Manol. Manol ran down like a madman. The porter was singing at the door. He asked if Beausire had passed. Yes, some 10 minutes ago. Manol became furious, summoned them all, and ran to release the unfortunate valet. But when he told his story, Manol was accused of being an accomplice of Beausire, and they all turned against him. De Corno felt ready to faint when he entered and saw the men preparing to hang M. de Souza. Hang M. de Souza, cried he. It is high treason. At last they threw him into a cellar, fearing his cries would arouse the neighborhood. At that moment loud knocks at the door disturbed them. They looked at each other in dismay. The knocks were repeated, and someone cried, Open in the name of the Portuguese ambassador. On hearing this, each made his escape in terror, as he best could, scrambling over walls and roofs. The true ambassador could only enter by the help of the police. They found and arrested M. de Corno, who slept that night in the Châtelet. Thus ended the adventure of the sham embassy from the Portugal. Chapter 43. Illusions and Realities. Beausire, on leaving the house, ran as fast as possible down the Rue Coquier, then into the Rue Saint-Honoré, and took everywhere the most intricate and improbable turnings he could think of, and continued this until he became quite exhausted. Then, thinking himself tolerably safe, he sat down in the Corn Market on a sack to recover his breath. Ah, thought he, now I have made my fortune. I will be an honest man for the future, and I will make Oliva an honest woman. She is beautiful, and she will not mind leading a retired life with me in some province, where we shall live like lords. She is very good. She has but 2 faults, idleness and pride, and as I shall satisfy her on both these points, she will be perfect. He then began to reflect on what he should do next. They would seek him, of course, and most likely divide into different parties, and some would probably go first to his own house. Here lay his great difficulty, for there they would find Oliva, and they might ill-treat her. They might even take her as a hostage, speculating on his love for her. What should he do? Love carried the day. He ran off again like lightning, took a coach, and drove to the Pont Neuf. He then looked cautiously down the Rue Dauphine to reconnoiter, and he saw 2 men, who seemed also looking anxiously down the street. He thought they were police spies, but that was nothing uncommon in that part of town. So, bending his back and walking lamely for disguise, he went on till he nearly reached his house. Suddenly he thought he saw the coat of a gendarme in the courtyard. Then he saw one at the window of Oliva's room. He felt ready to drop, but he thought his best plan was to walk quietly on. He had that courage and passed the house. Heavens! What a sight! The yard was full of soldiers, and among them a police commissioner. Beausire's rapid glance showed him what he thought disappointed faces. He thought that Decay had somehow begun to suspect him, and, sending to take him, had found only Oliva. I cannot help her now, thought he. I should only lose my money and destroy us both. No, let me place that in safety, and then I will see what can be done. He therefore ran off again, taking his way almost mechanically towards the Luxembourg. But as he turned the corner of the Rue Saint-Germain, he was almost knocked down by a hansom carriage which was driving towards the Rue Dauphine, and, raising his head to swear at the coachman, he thought he saw Oliva inside, talking with much animation to a handsome man who sat by her. He gave a cry of surprise and would have run after it, but he could not again encounter the Rue Dauphine. He felt bewildered, for he had before settled that Oliva had been arrested in her own house, and he fancied his brain must be turning when he believed he saw her in the carriage. But he started off again and took refuge in a small cabaret at the Luxembourg, where the hostess was an old friend. There he gradually began to recover again his courage and hope. He thought the police would not find him, and that his money was safe. He remembered also that Oliva had committed no crime, and that the time was past when people were kept prisoners for nothing. He also thought that his money would soon obtain her release, even if she were sent to prison, and he would then set off with her for Switzerland. Such were his dreams and projects as he sat sipping his wine. Chapter 44. Oliva begins to ask what they want of her. If Beausire had trusted to his eyesight, which was excellent, instead of trusting his imagination, he would have spared himself much regret and many mistakes. It was, in fact, Oliva who sat in the carriage by the side of a man, whom he would also have recognized if he had looked a little longer. She had gone that morning, as usual, to take a walk in the gardens of the Luxembourg, where she had met the strange friend whose acquaintance she had made the day of the ball at the opera. It was just as she was about to return that he appeared before her, and said, "Where are you going?" "Home, monsieur. Just what the people want who are there waiting for you." "Waiting for me? No one is there for me." "Oh, yes, a dozen visitors at least." "A whole regiment, perhaps?" said Oliva, laughing. "Perhaps. Had it been possible to send a whole regiment, they would have done so." "You astonish me." "You would be far more astonished if I let you go." "Why?" "Because you would be arrested." "I? Arrested?" "Assuredly. The 12 gentlemen who wait for you are sent by Decay." Oliva trembled. Some people are always fearful on certain points. But she said, "I have done nothing. Why should they arrest me? For some intrigue, perhaps." "I have none." "But you have had." "Oh, perhaps." "Well, perhaps they are wrong to wish to arrest you, but the fact is that they do desire to do so. Will you still go home?" "You deceive me," said Oliva. "If you know anything, tell me at once. Is it not Beausire they want?" "Perhaps. He may have a conscience less clear than yours." "Poor fellow. Pity him, if you like. But if he is taken, there is no need for you to be taken too." "What interest have you in protecting me?" asked she. "It is not natural for a man like you." "I would not lose time if I were you. They are very likely to seek you here, finding you do not return." "How should they know I am here?" "Are you not always here?" "My carriage is close by, if you will come with me. But I see you doubt still." "Yes." "Well, we will commit an imprudence to convince you. We will drive past your house, and when you have seen these gentlemen there, I think you will better appreciate my good offices." He led her to the carriage and drove to the Rue Dauphine, at the corner which they passed Beausire. Had Oliva seen him, doubtless she would have abandoned everything to fly with him and share his fate, whatever it might be. But Cagliostro, who did see him, took care to engage her attention by showing her crowd, which was already in sight, and which was waiting to see what the police would do. When Oliva could distinguish the soldiers who filled her house, she threw herself into the arms of her protector in despair. "Save me! Save me!" she cried. He pressed her hand. "I promise you." But they will find me out anywhere, not where I shall take you. They will not seek you at my house." "Oh," cried she, frightened, "am I to go home with you?" "You are foolish," said he. "I am not your lover, and do not wish to become so. If you prefer prison, you are free to choose." "No," replied she, "I trust myself to you. Take me where you please." He conducted her to the Rue Neuve St. Gilles, into a small room on the second floor. "How triste," said she, "here, without liberty, and without even a garden to walk in." "You are right," said he. "Besides, my people would see you here at last, and would betray me, perhaps." "No fear of that. But I will look out for another abode for you. I do not mean you to remain here." Oliva was consoled. Besides, she found amusing books and easy chairs. He left her, saying, "If you want me, ring. I will come directly if I am at home." "Ah," cried she, "give me some news of Beausire, before everything." Then, as he went down, he said to himself, "It will be a profanation to lodge her in that house in the Rue St. Claude, but it is important that no one should see her, and there no one will. So I will extinguish the last spark of my old light." Chapter 45. The Deserted House. When Cagliostro arrived at the deserted house in the Rue St. Claude, with which our readers are already acquainted, it was getting dark, and but few people were to be seen in the streets. Cagliostro drew a key from his pocket and applied it to the lock, but the door was swollen with the damp and stiff with age, and it required all his strength to open it. The courtyard was overgrown with moss, the steps crumbling away. All looked desolate and deserted. He entered the hall, and lighted a lamp which he had brought with him. He felt a strange agitation as he approached the door which he had so often entered to visit Lorenza. A slight noise made his heart beat quickly. He turned and saw an adder gliding down the staircase. It disappeared in a hole near the bottom. He entered the room. It was empty, but in the grate still lay some ashes, the remains of the furniture which had adorned it, and which he had burned there. Among it several pieces of gold and silver still sparkled. As he turned, he saw something glittering on the floor. He picked it up. It was one of those silver arrows with which the Italian women were in the habit of confining their hair. He pressed it to his lips, and a tear stood in his eyes as he murmured, "Lorenza!" It was but for a moment. Then he opened the window and threw it out, saying to himself, "Adieu! This last souvenir which would soften me. This house is about to be profaned. Another woman will ascend the staircase, and perhaps even into this room, where Lorenza's last sigh still vibrates. But to serve my end the sacrifice shall be made. I must, however, have some alterations made." He then wrote on his tablets the following words: "To M. Lenore, my architect, clean out the court and vestibule, restore the coach house and stable, and demolish the interior of the pavilion. To be done in 8 days. Now, let us see," said he to himself, "if we can perfectly distinguish the window of the Countess. It is infallible," said he, after looking out. "The women must see each other." The next day, 50 workmen had invaded the house and commenced the projected alterations, which were completed within the given time. Some of the passers-by saw a large rat hung up by the tail. Chapter 46. Jean the Protectress. Le Cardinal de Rohan received, 2 days after his visit to M. Bamer, the following note: "His Eminence the Cardinal de Rohan knows, doubtless, where he will sup this evening. From the little Countess," said he, "I will go." Among the footmen given to her by the Cardinal, Jean had distinguished one, black-haired and dark-eyed, and, as she thought, active and intelligent. She set this man to watch the Cardinal, and learned from him that he had been twice to M. Bamer's. Therefore she concluded the necklace was bought, and yet he had not communicated it to her. She frowned at the thought, and wrote the note which we have seen. M. de Rohan sent before him a basket of Tokay and other rarities, just as if he was going to sup with La Gamarde or Mademoiselle d'Angeville. Jean determined not to use any of it at supper. When they were alone, she said to him, "Really, Monseigneur, one thing afflicts me." "What, Countess?" "To see, not only that you no longer love me, but that you never have loved me." "Oh, Countess, how can you say so?" "Do not make excuses, Monseigneur. It would be lost time." "Oh, Countess, do not be uneasy. I am quite indifferent about it now. Whether I love you or not? Yes, because I do not love you. That is not flattering. Indeed, we are not exchanging compliments, but facts. We have never loved each other. Oh, as for myself, I cannot allow that. I have a great affection for you, Countess. Come, Monseigneur, let us esteem each other enough to speak the truth, and that is that there's between us a much stronger bond than love. That is, interest. Oh, Countess, what a shame. Monseigneur, if you are ashamed, I am not. Well, Countess, supposing ourselves interested, how can we serve each other? First, Monseigneur, I wish to ask you a question. Why have you failed in confidence towards me? Aye. How so, pray? Will you deny that, after skillfully drawing from me the details, which I confess I was not unwilling to give you, concerning the desire of a certain great lady for a certain thing, you have taken means to gratify that desire without telling me? Countess, you are a real enigma, a sphinx. Oh, no enigma. Cardinal, I speak of the Queen and of the diamonds which you bought yesterday of M.M. Bamer and Bassange. Countess, cried he, growing pale. Oh, do not look so frightened, continued she. Did you not conclude your bargain yesterday? He did not speak, but looked uncomfortable and half angry. She took his hand. Pardon, Prince, she said, but I wish to show you your mistake about me. You believe me foolish and spiteful. Oh, Countess, now I understand you perfectly. I expect to find you a pretty woman, and a clever one, but you are better than this. Listen to me. You have, you say, been willing to become my friend without loving me. I repeat it, replied she. Then you had some object? Assuredly. Do you wish me to tell it to you? No, I understand it. You wish to make my fortune. That once done, you are sure that my first care would be for yours. Am I right? Yes, Monseigneur, but I have not pursued my plans with any repugnance. The road has been a pleasant one. You are an amiable woman, Countess, and it is a pleasure to discuss business with you. You have guessed rightly that I have a respectful attachment towards a certain person. I saw at the opera ball, she said. I know well that this affection will never be returned. Oh, a queen is only a woman, and you are surely equal to Cardinal Mazarin. He was a very handsome man, said M. de Rohan, laughing. And an excellent minister, said Jean. Countess, it is superfluous trouble to talk to you. You guess and know everything. Yes, I do wish to become prime minister. Everything entitles me to it. My birth, my knowledge of business, my standing with foreign courts, and the affection which is felt for me by the French people. There is but one obstacle, said Jean. An antipathy. Yes, of the Queen's. And the king always ends by liking what she likes and hating what she hates. And she hates me? Be frank, Countess. Well, Monseigneur, she does not love you. Then I am lost. Of what use is the necklace? You deceive yourself, Prince. It is bought. At least, it will show the Queen that you love her. You know, Monseigneur, we have agreed to call things by their right names. Then you say you do not despair of seeing me one day Prime Minister? I am sure of it. And what are your own ambitions? I will tell you, Prince, when you are in a position to satisfy them. We will hope for that day. Now let us sup. I am not hungry. Then let us talk. I have nothing more to say. Then go. How? Is that what you call our alliance? Do you send me away? Yes, Monseigneur. Well, Countess, I will not deceive myself again about you. Before leaving, however, he turned and said, What must I do now, Countess? Nothing. Wait for me to act. I will go to Versailles. When? Tomorrow. And when shall I hear from you? Immediately. Then I abandon myself to your protection. Au revoir, Countess. Chapter 47. Jean protected. Mistress of such a secret, rich in such a future, and supported by such a friend, Jean felt herself strong against the world. To appear at court no longer as a suppliant, as the poor mendicant, drawn from poverty by Madame de Boulonvilliers, but as a Valois, with an income of 100,000 francs, to be called a favor of the Queen, and consequently governing the king and state through it, Such was a panorama that floated before the eyes of Jean. She went to Versailles. She had no audience promised, but she trusted to her good fortune, and as the queen had received her so well before, all the officials were anxious to serve her. Therefore, one of the doorkeepers said aloud, as the queen came from chapel, to one of her gentlemen, "Monsieur, what am I to do? Here is Madame la Comtesse de la Motte Valois asking admission, and she has no letter of audience." The queen heard and turned round. "Did you say Madame de la Motte Valois was here?" she asked. "Your Majesty, the doorkeeper says so." "I will receive her. Bring her to the bathroom." The man told Jean what he had done. She drew out her purse, but he said, "Will Madame la Comtesse allow this debt to accumulate? Some day she can pay me with interest." "You are right, my friend. I thank you." Marie Antoinette looked serious when Jean entered. "She supposes I am come again to beg," thought Jean. "Madam," said the queen, "I have not yet had an opportunity to speak to the king." "Oh, your Majesty has already done too much for me. I ask nothing more. I came." She hesitated. "Is it something urgent that you did not wait to ask for an audience?" "Urgent? Yes, madam, but not for myself." "For me, then?" And the queen conducted her into the bathroom, where her women were waiting for her. Once in the bath, she sent them away. "Now, Countess." "Madam," said Jean, "I am much embarrassed." "Why so?" "Your Majesty knows the kindness I have received from M. de Rohan." The queen frowned. "Well, madam?" "Yesterday His Eminence came to see me, and spoke to me as usual of your Majesty's goodness and kindness." "What does he want?" "I express to him all my sense of your generosity, which constantly empties your purse, and told him that I felt almost guilty in thinking of your Majesty's gift to myself, and remembering that were it not for such liberality, your Majesty need not have been forced to deny yourself the beautiful necklace which became you so well." When I related the circumstance to M. de Rohan, I saw him grow pale, and the tears came into his eyes. Indeed, madam, his fine face, full of admiration for and emotion caused by your noble conduct, is ever before my eyes. Well, Countess, if he has impressed you so deeply, I advise you not to let him see it. M. de Rohan is a worldly prelate, and gathers the sheep as much for himself as for his lord. "Oh, madam, it is not I who say it. That is his reputation. He almost glories in it. His trophies are numerous, and some of them have made no little scandal." "Well, madam, I am sure he thought then of no one but your Majesty." The queen laughed. "Your Majesty's modesty will not allow you to listen to praises. Not from the cardinal. I suspect them all." "It is not my part," replied Jean respectfully, "to defend anyone who has incurred your Majesty's displeasure. M. de Rohan has offended me, but I am a queen and a Christian, and do not wish to dwell on offenses." Jean was silent. "You think differently to me on this subject?" "Completely, your Majesty. You would not speak so if you knew what he has done against me. But as you have so great a friendship for him, I will not attack him again before you." "You have not, then, forgotten the diamonds?" "Oh, madam, I have thought of them night and day. They will look so well on your Majesty." "What do you mean?" "They are sold to the Portuguese ambassador." Jean shook her head. "Not sold," cried the queen. "Yes, madam, but to M. de Rohan." "Oh," said the queen, becoming suddenly cold again. "Oh, your Majesty," cried Jean, "do not be ungenerous towards him. It was the impulse of a generous heart that your Majesty should understand and sympathize with. When he heard my account, he cried, 'What? The queen refuse herself such a thing, and perhaps see it one day worn by one of her subjects.' And when I told him that it was bought for the Queen of Portugal, he was more indignant than ever. He cried, 'It is no longer a simple question of pleasure for Queen, but the dignity of the French crown. I know the spirit of foreign courts. They will laugh at our Queen because they happen to have more money to spare, and I will never suffer this.' And he left me abruptly, an hour after I heard that he had bought the necklace. For 1,500,000 francs? 1,600,000, madam. With what intention? That at least if your Majesty would not have them, no one else should. Are you sure it is not for some mistress?" I am sure he would rather break it to pieces than see it on any other neck than your own. Marie Antoinette reflected, and her expressive countenance showed clearly every thought that passed through her mind. At last she said, "What an Rowan has done is a noble trait of a delicate devotion, and you will thank him for me." "Oh, yes, madam." "You will add that he has proved to me his friendship, and that I accept it, but not his gift." "But, madam—" "No, but as a loan. He has advanced his money and his credit to please me, and I will repay him. Bamer has asked for money down." "Yes, madam." "How much?" 100,000 francs. "That is my quarter's allowance from the king. I received it this morning. It is an advance, but still I have it." She rang the bell. Her woman came and wrapped her in warm sheets, and then she dressed herself. Once more alone in her bedroom with Jean, she said, "Open that drawer, and you will see a portfolio." "Here it is, madam." "It holds the 100,000 francs. Count them." Jean obeyed. "Take them to the cardinal with my thanks. Each quarter I will pay the same. In this manner I shall have a necklace which pleased me so much, and if it embarrasses me to pay it, at least it will not hurt the king, and I shall gain the knowledge that I have a friend who has guessed my wishes." Then, after a pause, "You will add, Countess, that M. de Rohan will be welcome at Versailles to receive my thanks." Jean went away full of joy and delight. Chapter 48. The Queen's Portfolio. The cardinal was at home when Madame de la Motte came to his hotel. She had herself announced, and was immediately admitted. "You come from Versailles?" said he. "Yes." Well, Monseigneur, what do you expect?" "Ah, Countess, you say that with an air that frightens me. You wish me to see the Queen, and I have seen her, and that I should speak to her of you whom she has always so much disliked." "And you did?" "Yes, and Her Majesty listened." "Say no more, Countess. I see she will not overcome her repugnance." "Oh, as to that, I spoke of the necklace." "And did you dare to say that I wished?" "To buy it for her?" "Yes." "Oh, Countess, you are sublime, and she listened?" "Yes, but she refused." "Oh, I am lost." "Refused to accept it as a gift, but not as a loan." "I lend to the Queen." "Countess, it is impossible. It is more than giving, is it not?" "1,000 times." "So I thought." The cardinal rose and came towards her. "Do not deceive me," he said. "One does not play with the affections of a man like you, Monseigneur." "Then it is true?" "The exact truth." "I have a secret with the Queen," and he pressed Jean's hand. "I like that clasp of the hand," she said. "It is like one man to another. It is that of a happy man to a protecting angel." "Monseigneur, do not exaggerate." "Oh, my joy, my gratitude." "Impossible." "But lending 1,500,000 to the Queen is not all you wish for?" "Buckingham would have asked for more." "Buckingham believed what I dare not even dream of." "The Queen sends you word that she will see you with pleasure at Versailles." The cardinal looked as pale as a youth who gives his first kiss of love. "Ah," thought she, "it is still more serious than I imagined. I can get what I please from him, for he acts really not from ambition, but from love." He quickly recovered himself, however. "My friend," said he, "how's the Queen mean to act about this loan she talks of?" "Ah, you think she has no money, but she will pay you as she would have paid Bamer. Only if she had paid him, all Paris must have known it, which she would not have liked, after the credit she has had for her refusal of it. You are a cashier for her, and a solvent one if she becomes embarrassed. She is happy and she pays. Ask no more." "She pays?" "Yes. She knows you have debts, and when I told her you had advanced 100,000 francs." "You told her?" "Yes, why not?" Jean put her hand in her pocket and drew out the portfolio. "The Queen sends you this with thanks. It is all right, for I have counted it." "Who cares for that? But the portfolio, well, it is not handsome." "It pleases me, nevertheless." "You have good taste." "Ah, you quiz me." "You have the same taste as the Queen, at all events." "Then it was hers? Do you wish for it?" "I cannot deprive you of it." "Take it." "Oh, Countess, you are a precious friend. But while you have worked for me, I have not forgotten you." Jean looked surprised. "Yes," said he. "My banker came to propose to me some plan of a marsh to drain, which must be profitable. I took 200 shares, and 50 of them are for you." "Oh, Monseigneur." He soon returned. He had realized already on them cent per cent. He gave me 100,000 francs. "And here is your share, dear Countess." And from the pocketbook she had just given him, he slid 25,000 francs into her hand. "Thanks, Monseigneur. What gratifies me most is that you thought of me." "I shall ever do so," said he, kissing her hand. "And I of you at Versailles." Chapter 49, in which we find Dr. Lewis. Perhaps our readers, remembering in what a position we left M. de Charny, will not dislike to return with us to that little antechamber at Versailles into which this brave seaman, who feared neither men nor elements, had fled, lest he should show his weakness to Queen. Once arrived there, he felt it impossible to go further. He stretched out his arms, and was only saved from falling to ground by the aid of those around. He then fainted, and was totally ignorant that the Queen had seen him, and would have run to his assistance had Andre not prevented her, more even from a feeling of jealousy than from regard for appearances. Immediately after the king entered, and seeing a man lying supported by 2 guards, who, unaccustomed to see men faint, scarcely knew what to do, advanced, saying, "Someone is ill here." At his voice the men started and let their burden fall. "Oh," cried the king, "it is M. de Charny. Place him on this couch, gentlemen." Then they brought him restoratives and sent for a doctor. The king waited to hear the result. The doctor's first care was to open the waistcoat and ensure the young man to give him air, and then he saw the wound. "A wound!" cried the king. "Yes," said M. de Charny, faintly. "An old wound, which is reopened," and he pressed a hand to the doctor to make him understand. But this was not a court doctor who understands everything. So, willing to show his knowledge, "Old! Sir, this wound is not 24 hours old." Charny raised himself at this and said, "Do you teach me, sir, when I receive my wound?" Then, turning round, he cried, "The king!" and hastened to button his waistcoat. "Yes, M. de Charny, who fortunately arrived in time to procure you assistance." "A mere scratch, sire," stammered Charny, "an old wound." "Old or new," replied Lewis, "it has shown me the blood of a brave man, whom a couple of hours in bed will quite restore," continued Charny, trying to rise. But his strength failed him, his head swam, and he sank back again. "He is very ill," said the king. "Yes, sire," said the doctor, with importance, "but I can cure him." The king understood well that M. de Charny wished to hide some secret from him, and determined to respect it. "I do not wish," said he, "that in de Charny should run the risk of being moved. We will take care of him here. Let M. de Suffren be called, this gentleman recompensed, and my own physician, Dr. Lewis, be sent for." While one officer went to execute these orders, 2 others carried Charny into a room at the end of the gallery. Dr. Lewis and M. de Suffren soon arrived. The latter understood nothing of his nephew's illness. "It is strange," said he. "Do you know, doctor, I never knew my nephew before." "That proves nothing," replied the doctor. "The air of Versailles must be bad for him." "It is his wound," said one of the officers. "His wound!" cried M. de Suffren. "He never was wounded in his life." "Oh, excuse me," said the officer, opening the shirt, covered with blood. "But I thought—" "Well," said the doctor, who began to see the state of the case, "do not let us lose time disputing over the cause, but see what can be done to cure him." "Is it dangerous, doctor?" asked M. de Suffren with anxiety. "Not at all," replied he. M. de Suffren took his leave, and left Charny with the doctor. Fever commenced, and before long he was delirious. 3 hours after, the doctor called a servant and told him to take Charny in his arms, who uttered doleful cries. "Roll the sheet over his head," said the doctor. "But," said the man, "he struggles so much that I must ask assistance from one of the guards." "Are you afraid of a sick man, sir? If he is too heavy for you, you are not strong enough for me. I must send you back to Auvergne." This threat had its effect. Charny, crying, fighting, and gesticulating, was carried by the man through the guards. Some of the officers questioned the doctor. "Oh, gentlemen," said he, "this gallery is too far off for me. I must have him in my own rooms. But I assure you, doctor, we would all looked after him here. We all love him to suffering. Oh, yes, I know your sort of care. The sick man is thirsty, and you give him something to drink and kill him. Now there remains but one danger," said the doctor to himself, as he followed Charney, "that the king should want to visit him, and if he hear him, diable, I must speak to the queen." The good doctor, therefore, having bathed the head and face of his patient with cold water, and seen him safe in bed, went out and locked the door on him, leaving his servant to look after him. He went towards the queen's apartments, and met Madame de Misery, who had just been dispatched to ask after the patient. "Come with me," he said. "But, doctor, the queen waits for intelligence." "I am going to her." "The queen wishes." "The queen shall know all she wishes. I will take care of that." Chapter 50. Egrisomnia. The queen was expecting the return of Madame de Misery. The doctor entered with his accustomed familiarity. "Madam," he said, "the patient in whom your majesty and the king are interested is as well as anyone can be who has a fever." "Is it a slight wound?" asked the queen. "Slight or not, he is in a fever." "Poor fellow, a bad fever?" "Terrible. You frighten me, dear doctor, you who are generally so cheering. Besides, you look about you as though you had a secret to tell." "So I have." "About the fever?" "Yes." "To tell me?" "Yes." "Speak, then, for I am curious." "I wait for you to question me, madam." "Well, how does the fever go on?" "No, ask me why I have taken him away from the guard's gallery, where the king left him, to my own room." "Well, I ask. Indeed, it is strange." "Then, madam, I did so, because it is not an ordinary fever." The queen looked surprised. "What do you mean?" "M. de Charny is delirious already, and in his delirium he says a number of things rather delicate for the gentlemen of the guard to hear." "Doctor." "Oh, madam, you should not question me, if you do not wish to hear my answers." "Well, then, dear doctor, is he an atheist? Does he blaspheme?" "Oh, no. He is, on the contrary, a devotee." The queen assumed a look of sang-froid. "M. de Charny," she said, "interests me. He is a nephew of M. de Suffren, and has besides rendered me personal services. I wish to be a friend to him. Tell me, therefore, the exact truth." "But I cannot tell you, madam. If your majesty wishes to know, the only way is to hear him yourself." "But if he says such strange things?" "Things which your majesty ought to hear." "But," said the queen, "I cannot move a step here without some charitable spy watching me. I will answer for your security. Come through my private way, and I will lock the door after us." "I trust to you, then, dear doctor." And she followed him, burning with curiosity. When they reached the second door, the doctor put his ear to the keyhole. "Is your patient in there, doctor?" "No, madam, or you would have heard him at the end of the corridor. Even here you can hear his voice. He groans." "No, he speaks loud and distinct, but I cannot go into him. I do not mean you to do so. I only wish you to listen in the adjoining room, where you will hear without being seen." They went on, and the doctor entered the sick room alone. Charney, still dressed in his uniform, was making fruitless efforts to rise, and was repeating to himself his interview with the German lady in the coach. "German," he cried, "German, Queen of France." "Do you hear, madam? It is frightful," continued Charney, "to love an angel, a woman, to love her madly, to be willing to give your life for her, and when you come near her, to find her only a queen, of velvet and of gold, of metal and of silk, and no heart." "Oh, oh," cried the doctor again, "I love a married woman." Charney went on, and with that wild love which makes me forget everything else. "Well, I will say to her, there remain for us still some happy days on this earth. Come, my beloved, and we will live the life of the blessed, if we love each other. Afterwards there will be death, better than a life like this. Let us love at least." "Not badly reasoned for a man in a fever," said the doctor. "But her children," cried Charney suddenly with fury. "She will not leave her children." "Oh, we will carry them away also. Surely I can carry her. She is so light, and her children too." Then he gave a terrible cry. "But they are the children of a king." The doctor left his patient and approached the queen. "You are right, doctor," said she. "This young man would incur a terrible danger if he were overheard." "Listen again," said the doctor. "Oh, no more." But just then Charney said in a gentler voice, "Marie, I feel that you love me, but I will say nothing about it. Marie, I felt the touch of your foot in the coach. Your hand touched mine, but I will never tell. I will keep the secret with my life. My blood may all flow away, Marie, but my secret shall not escape with it. My enemy steeped the sword in my blood, but if he has guessed my secret, yours is safe. Fear nothing, Marie. I do not even ask you if you love me. You blush, that is enough." "Oh," thought the doctor, "this sounds less like delirium and like memory." "I have heard enough," cried the queen, rising and trembling violently, and she tried to go. The doctor stopped her. "Madam," said he, "what do you wish?" "Nothing, doctor, nothing. But if the king asked to see my patient?" "Oh, that would be dreadful." "What shall I say?" "Doctor, I cannot think. This dreadful spectacle has confused me." "I think you have caught his fever," said the doctor, feeling her pulse. She drew away her hand and escaped. Chapter 51. Andre. The doctor remained thoughtful, then said to himself, "There are other difficulties here besides those I can contend with by science." He bathed again the temples of his patient, who for the time began to grow calmer. All at once the doctor heard the rustling of a dress outside. "Can it be the queen returned?" thought he, and opening the door softly, he saw before him the motionless figure of a woman, looking like a statue of despair. It was almost dark. He advanced suddenly along the corridor to the place where the figure was standing. On seeing him, she uttered a cry. "Who is there?" asked Dr. Lewis. "I, doctor," replied a sweet and sorrowful voice, a voice that he knew but could not immediately recognize. "I, Andre de Taverny," continued she. "Oh, mon Dieu, what is the matter?" cried the doctor. "Is she ill?" "She? Who?" The doctor felt that he had committed an imprudence. "Excuse me, but I saw a lady going away just now. Perhaps it was you." "Oh, yes, there's been a lady here before me, has there not?" asked Andre, in a tone of emotion. "My dear child," replied the doctor, "of whom do you speak? What do you want to know?" "Doctor," answered Andre in a sorrowful voice, "you always speak the truth. Do not deceive me now. I am sure there was a woman here before me." "Doubtless. Why should I deceive you? Madame de Misery was here." "It was Madame de Misery who came?" "Certainly. What makes you doubt? What inexplicable beings women are." "Dear doctor." "Well, but to the point. Is she worse?" "Who?" "Pardieu, the queen." "The queen?" "Yes, the queen, for whom Madame de Misery came to fetch me, and who is troubled with her palpitations. If you come from her, tell me, and we will go back together." "No, doctor, I do not come from the queen, and was even ignorant that she was suffering. But pardon me, doctor, I scarcely know what I am saying. In fact, she seemed on the point of fainting. The doctor supported her. She rallied by a strong effort. "Doctor," she said, "you know I am nervous in the dark. I lost my way in these intricate passages and have grown frightened and foolish. And why the devil should you be wandering about these dark passages, since you came for nothing?" "I did not say I came for nothing, only that no one sent me." "Well, if you have anything to say to me, come away from here, for I am tired standing." "Oh, I shall not be 10 minutes. Can anyone hear us?" "No one. Not even your patient in there." "Oh, no fear of his hearing anything." Andre clasped her hands. "Oh, mon Dieu," she cried. "He is then very ill?" "Indeed, he is not well. But tell me quickly what brings you here, for I cannot wait." "Well, doctor, we have spoken of it. I came to ask after him." Dr. Lewis received this confession with a solemn silence, which Andre took for a reproach. You may excuse this step, doctor, she said, as he was wounded in a duel with my brother. Your brother? I was ignorant of that. But now that you know it, you understand why I inquire after him. Oh, certainly, my child, said the good doctor, enchanted to find an excuse of being indulgent. I could not know this. A duel between two gentlemen is a thing of everyday occurrence, doctor. Certainly. The only thing that could make it of importance would be that they have fought about a lady. About a lady? About yourself, for example. Andre sighed. Oh, doctor, they did not fight about me. Then, said the doctor, is it your brother that has sent you for news of Charney? Oh, yes, my brother, doctor. Dr. Lewis looked at her scrutinizingly. I will find out the truth, thought he. Then he said, well, I will tell you the truth, that your brother may make his arrangements accordingly. You understand. No, doctor. Why? A duel is never a very agreeable thing to the king, and if it makes a scandal, he often banishes or imprisons the actors. But when death ensues, he is always inflexible. Therefore counsel your brother to hide for a time. Then, cried Andre, de Charney is dangerously ill? My dear young lady, if he is not out of danger by this time tomorrow, if before that time I cannot quell the fever that devours him, de Charney is a dead man. Andre bit her lips till the blood came, and clenched her hands till the nails stuck into the flesh, to stifle the cry that was ready to burst from her. Having conquered herself, she said, my brother will not fly. He wounded de Charney in fair fight, and if he has killed him, he will take his chance. The doctor was deceived. She did not come on her own account, he thought. How does the queen take it? He asked. The queen? I know not. What is it to her? But she likes your brother. Well, he is safe, and perhaps you would defend him if he is accused. Then, mademoiselle, you have learned what you wished. Let your brother fly or not, as he pleases. That is your affair. Mine is to do the best tonight for the wounded man, without which death will infallibly carry him off. Adieu. Andre fled back to her room, locked herself in, and falling on her knees by the side of her bed. My God! Cried she with a torrent of burning tears. You will not leave this young man to die who has done no wrong, and who is so loved in this world. Oh, save him, that I may see a God of mercy and not of vengeance. Her strength gave way, and she fell senseless on the floor. When her senses returned to her, her first muttered words were, I love him. Oh, I love him. Chapter 52. Delirium. De Charney conquered the fever. The next day the report was favorable. Once out of danger, Dr. Lewis ceased to take so much interest in him, and after the lapse of a week, as he had not forgotten all that had passed in his delirium, he wished to have him removed from Versailles. But Charney, at the first hint of this, rebelled and said angrily that His Majesty had given him shelter there, and that no one had a right to disturb him. The doctor, who was not patient with intractable convalescents, ordered 4 men to come in and move him. But Charney caught hold of his bed with one hand and struck furiously with the other at everyone who approached. And with the effort, the wound reopened, the fever returned, and he began to cry out that the doctor wished to deprive him of the visions that he had in his sleep, but that it was all in vain, for that she who sent them to him was of too high rank to mind the doctor. Then the doctor, frightened, sent the men away and dressed the wound again, but as the delirium returned stronger than ever, he determined to go once more to the Queen. Marie Antoinette received him with a smile. She expected to hear that the patient was cured, but on hearing that he was very ill, she cried, Why, yesterday you said he was going on so well. It was not true, madam. And why did you deceive me? Is there then danger? Yes, madam, to himself and others. But the evil is moral, not physical. The wound in itself is nothing. But, madam, de Charney is fast becoming a monomaniac, and this I cannot cure. Madam, you will have ruined this young man. I, doctor, am I the cause if he is mad? If you are not now, you soon will be. What must I do, then? Command me, doctor. This young man must be cured either with kindness or coercion. The woman whose name he evokes every instant must kill or cure him. Doctor, you exaggerate. Can you kill a man with a hard word, or cure a madman with a smile. If your majesty be incredulous, I have only to pay my respects and take leave. No, doctor, tell me what you wish. Madam, if you desire to free this palace from his cries and from scandal, you must act. You wish me to come and see him? Yes. Then I will call someone, Mademoiselle de Taverny, for example, and you have all ready to receive us. But it is a dreadful responsibility to run the risk of kill or cure, as you say. It is what I have to do every day. Come, madam, all is ready. The queen sighed and followed the doctor without waiting for Andre, who was not to be found. It was 11 o'clock in the morning, and Charney was asleep after the troubled night he had gone through. The queen, attired in an elegant morning dress, entered the corridor. The doctor advised her to present herself suddenly, determined to produce a crisis, either for good or ill. But at the door they found a woman standing, who had not time to assume her usual unmoved tranquility, but showed an agitated countenance, and trembled before them. "Andre!" cried the queen. "Yes, your majesty, you are here too. I sent for you, but they could not find you." Andre, anxious to hide her feelings, even at the price of a falsehood, said, "I heard your majesty had asked for me and came after you." "How did you know I was here?" "They said you were gone with Dr. Lewis, so I guessed it." "Well guessed," replied the queen, who was a little suspicious, and forgot immediately her first surprise. She went on, leaving Andre with the doctor. Andre, seeing her disappear, gave a look full of anger and grief. The doctor said to her, "Do you think she will succeed?" "Succeed in what?" "In getting this poor fellow removed, who will die here." "We live elsewhere?" asked Andre, surprised. "I believe so." "Oh, then may she succeed." Chapter 53. Convalescence. The queen walked straight up to where Charney lay, dressed, on a couch. He raised his head, wakened by her entrance. "The queen!" cried he, trying to rise. "Yes, sir, the queen," she replied, "who knows how you strive to lose both reason and life. The queen, whom you offend both dreaming and waking. The queen, who cares for your honor and your safety, and therefore comes to you. Is it possible," continued she, "that a gentleman, formerly renowned like you for his loyalty and honor, should become such an enemy as you've been to the reputation of a woman? What will my enemies do if you set them the example of treason?" "Treason," stammered Charney. "Yes, sir. Either you are a madman and must be forcibly prevented from doing harm, or you are a traitor and must be punished." "Oh, madam, do not call me a traitor. From the mouth of a king, such an accusation would precede death. From the mouth of a woman, it is dishonor. Queen, kill me or spare me." "Are you in your right mind, M. de Charney?" said the queen in a moved voice. "Yes, madam." "Do you remember your wrongs towards me and towards the king?" "Mon Dieu," he murmured. "For you too easily forget, you gentlemen, that the king is the husband of the woman whom you insult by raising your eyes to her, that he is the father of your future master, the dauphin. You forget, also, that he is a greater and better man than any of you, a man whom I esteem and love." "Oh!" murmured Charney with a groan, and seemed ready to faint. This cry pierced the queen's heart. She thought he was about to die and was going to call for assistance. But after an instant's reflection, she went on, "Let us converse quietly and be a man. Dr. Lewis has vainly tried to cure you. Your wound, which was nothing, has been rendered dangerous through your own extravagances. When will you cease to present to the good doctor the spectacle of a scandalous folly which disquiets him? When will you leave the castle?" "Madam," replied Charney, "your majesty sends me away. I go." And he rose with a violent effort, as though he would have fled that instant, but, unable to stand, fell almost into the arms of the queen, who had risen to stop him. She replaced him on the sofa. A bloody foam rose to his lips. "Ah, so much the better," cried he. "I die, killed by you." The queen forgot everything but his danger. She supported his drooping head on her shoulders and pressed her cold hands to his forehead and heart. Her touch seemed to revive him as if by magic. He lived again. Then she wished to fly, but he caught hold of her dress, saying, "Madam, in the name of the respect which I feel for you—" "Adieu, adieu," cried the queen. Oh, madam, pardon me. I do pardon you. Madam, one last look. M. de Charny, said the queen, trembling. If you are not the basest of men, tomorrow you will be dead or have left this castle. He threw himself at her feet. She opened the door and rushed away. Andre saw for an instant the young man on his knees before her, and felt struck with both hate and despair. She thought, as she saw the queen return, that God had given too much to this woman in adding to her throne and her beauty this half hour with M. de Charny. The doctor, occupied only with the success of the negotiation, said, "Well, madam, what will he do?" "He will leave," replied the queen, and, passing them quickly, she returned to her apartment. The doctor went to his patient, and Andre to her room. Dr. Lewis found Charny a changed man, declaring himself perfectly strong, asking the doctor how he should be moved, and when he should be quite well, with so much energy that the doctor feared it was too much, and that he must relapse after it. He was, however, so reasonable as to feel the necessity of explaining this sudden change. "The queen has done me more good by making me ashamed of myself," he said, "than you, dear doctor, with all your science. She has vanquished me by an appeal to my amour propre." "So much the better," said the doctor. "Yes, I remember that a Spaniard, they are all boasters, told me one day, to prove the force of his will, that it sufficed for him in a duel which he had fought, and in which he had been wounded, to will that the blood should not flow in presence of his adversary in order to retain it. I laughed at him. However, I now feel something like it myself. I think that if my fever and delirium wish to return, I could chase them away, saying, 'Fever and delirium, I forbid you to appear.'" "We know such things are possible," replied the doctor. "Allow me to congratulate you, for you are cured morally." "Oh, yes. Well, the physical cure will soon follow. Once sound in mind, you'll be sound in body within a week." "Thanks, doctor. And to begin, you must leave this place." "I am ready immediately." "Oh, we will not be rash. We will wait till this evening." "Where will you go?" "Anywhere. To the end of the world, if you like." "That is too far for a first journey. We will content ourselves with Versailles. I have a house there where you shall go tonight." Accordingly, that evening the four valets, who had been so rudely repulsed before, carried him to his carriage. The king had been hunting all day. Charny felt somewhat uneasy at leaving without apprising him, but the doctor promised to make his excuses. Andre, concealed behind her curtains, saw the carriage drive off. If he resumes his desire to die, thought the doctor, at least it will not be in my rooms and under my care. Charny arrived safely, however, and the next day the doctor found him so well that he told him he thought he would require him no longer. He received a visit from his uncle and from an officer sent by the king to inquire after him. At the end of a week, he could ride slowly on horseback. Then the doctor advised him to go for a time to his estates in Picardy to regain strength. He accordingly took leave of the king, charged M. de Suffren with his adieus to the queen, who was ill that evening, and set off for his chateau at Boursanges. Chapter 54. Two Bleeding Hearts. On the day following the queen's visit to M. de Charny Madel, the taverny entered the royal bedroom, as usual at the hour of the petite toilette. The queen was just laughing over a note from Madame de la Motte. Andre, paler than usual, looked cold and grave. The queen, however, being occupied, did not notice it, but merely turning her head, said in her usual friendly tone, "Bonjour, petite." At last, however, Andre's silence struck her, and looking up she saw her sad expression, and said, "Mon Dieu! Andre, what is the matter? Has any misfortune happened to you?" "Yes, madam, a great one." "What is it?" "I am going to leave your majesty." "Leave me?" "Yes, madam." "Where are you going? And what is the cause of this sudden departure?" "Madam, I am not happy in my affections. In my family affections, I mean," added Andre, blushing. "I do not understand you. You seemed happy yesterday." "No, madam," replied Andre, firmly. "Yesterday was one of the unhappy days of my life." "Explain yourself." "It will but fatigue your majesty, and the details are not worthy of your hearing. Suffice it to say that I have no satisfaction in my family. that I have no good to expect in this world. I come, therefore, to beg your majesty's permission to retire into a convent." The queen rose, and although with some effort to her pride, took Andre's hand and said, "What is the meaning of this foolish resolution? Have you not today, like yesterday, a father and a brother? And were they different yesterday from today? Tell me your difficulties. Am I no longer your protectress and mother?" Andre, trembling and bowing low, said, "Madam, your kindness penetrates my heart, but does not shake my resolution. I have resolved to quit the court. I have need of solitude. Do not force me to give up the vocation to which I feel called. Since yesterday, I beg your majesty not to make me speak on this point." "Be free, then," said the queen, rather bitterly. "Only I have always shown you sufficient confidence for you to have placed some in me. But it is useless to question one who will not speak. Keep your secrets, and I trust you will be happier away than you have been here. Remember one thing, however, that my friendship does not expire with people's caprices, and that I shall ever look on you as a friend. Now, go, Andre. You are at liberty. But where are you going to?" "To the convent of St. Denis, madam." "Well, mademoiselle, I consider you guilty towards me of ingratitude and forgetfulness." Andre, however, left the room in the castle without giving any of those explanations which the good heart of the queen expected, and without in any way softening or humbling herself. When she arrived at home, she found Philippe in the garden. The brother dreamed while the sister acted. At the sight of Andre, whose duties always kept with the queen at that hour, he advanced, surprised, and almost frightened, which was increased when he perceived her gloomy look. He questioned her, and she told him that she was about to leave the service of the queen and go into a convent. He clasped his hands and cried, "What? You also, sister?" "I also." "What do you mean?" "'Tis a cursed contact for us, that of the Bourbons. You wish to take religious vows. You, at once the least worldly of women, and the least fitted for a life of asceticism. What have you to reproach the queen with?" "I have nothing to reproach her with. But you, Philippe, who expected, and had the right to expect, so much, why did not you remain at court? You did not remain there 3 days. I have been there as many years." "She is capricious, Andre. You, as a man, might put up with it. I, a woman, could not and do not wish to do so. All this, my sister, does not inform me what quarrel you have had with her." "None, Philippe, I assure you. Had you any when you left her?" "Oh, she is ungrateful. We must pardon her, Andre. She is a little spoiled by flattery, but she has a good heart. Witness what she has done for you, Philippe." "What has she done?" "You have already forgotten. I have a better memory, and with one stroke pay off your debts and my own. Very dear, it seems to me, Andre, to renounce the world at your age and with your beauty. Take care, dear sister. If you renounce it young, you will regret it old, and will return to it when the time will be past, and you have outlived all your friends. You do not reason thus for yourself, brother. You are so little careful of your fortunes, that when 100 others would have acquired titles and gold, you have only said, 'She is capricious. She is perfidious and a coquette, and I prefer not to serve her.' Therefore, you have renounced the world, though you have not entered into a monastery. You are right, sister, and were it not for our father." "Our father? Ah, Philippe, do not speak of him," replied Andre bitterly. "A father should be a support to his children or accept their support. But what does ours do? Could you confide a secret to M. de Taverny, or do you believe him capable of confiding in you? M. de Taverny is made to live alone in this world." "True, Andre, but not to die alone. Ah, Philippe, you take me for a daughter without feeling, but you know I am a fond sister, and have been a good daughter, required only to have had a father, but everything seems to conspire to destroy in me every tender feeling. It never happens in this world that hearts respond. Those who we choose prefer others." Philippe looked at her with astonishment. "What do you mean?" said he. "Nothing," replied Andre, shrinking from a confidence. "I think my brain is wandering. Do not attend to my words." "But—" Andre took his hand. "Enough on this subject, my dearest brother. I am come to beg you to conduct me to the convent of St. Denis. But be easy, I will take no vows. I can do that at a later period, if I wish. Instead of going, like most women, to seek forgetfulness, I will go to seek memory. It seems to me that I have too often forgotten my Creator. He is the only consolation, as He is really the only afflictor. In approaching Him more nearly, I shall do more for my happiness than if all the rich and great in this world had combined to make life pleasant to me. Still, Andre, I oppose this desperate resolution, for you have not confided me the cause of your despair. Despair, said she with a disdainful air. No, thank God, I am not despairing. No, 1,000 times, no. This excess of disdain shows a state of mind which cannot last. If you reject the word despair, I must use that of pique. Pique. Do you believe that I am so weak as to yield up my place in the world through pique? Judge me by yourself, Philippe. If you were to retire to La Trappe, what would you call the cause of your determination? I should call it an incurable grief. Well, Philippe, I adopt your words, for they suit me. Then, he replied, brother and sister are alike in their lives. Happy together, they become unhappy at the same time. Then, thinking further remonstrance useless, he asked, when do you want to go? Tomorrow, even today, if it were possible. I shall be ready whenever you require me. Andre retired to make her preparations. Soon she received this note from Philippe. You can see our father at 5 o'clock this evening. You must be prepared for reproaches, but an adieu is indispensable. She answered, at 5 o'clock I will be with M. de Taverny all ready to start, and by 7 we can be at St. Denis, if you will give me up your evening. Chapter 55. The Minister of Finance. We have seen that the Queen, before receiving Andre, was smiling over a note from Madame de la Motte. She was, however, rendered serious by the interview with Mademoiselle de Taverny. Scarcely had she gone, when Madame de Misery came to announce M. de Calonne. He was a man of much intellect, but, foreseeing that disaster was hanging over France, determined to think only of the present and enjoy it to the utmost. He was a courtier and a popular man. De Necker had shown the impossibility of finding finances and called for reforms which would have struck at the estates of nobility and the revenues of the clergy. He exposed his designs too openly and was overwhelmed by a torrent of opposition. To show the enemy your plan of attack is half to give them the victory. Calonne, equally alive to the danger, but seeing no way of escape, gave way to it. He completely carried with him the king and queen, who implicitly believed in his system, and this is perhaps the only political fault which Louis XVI was guilty of towards posterity. De Calonne was handsome and had an ingratiating manner. He knew how to please a queen and always arrived with a smile on his face when others might have worn a frown. The queen received him graciously and said, have we any money, M. de Calonne? Certainly, madam, we have always money. You are perfectly marvelous, replied she, an incomparable financier, for you seem always ready when we want money. How much does your majesty require? Explain to me first how you managed to find money, when Necker declared that there was none. Necker was right, madam. For when I became minister on the 3d of November, 1783, there were but 1,200 francs in the public treasury. Had Necker, madam, instead of crying out, there is no money, done as I have done, and borrowed 100 million the first year, and 125 million the second, and had he been as sure as I am of a new loan of 80 million for the third, he would have been a true financier. Everyone can say there is no money, but not that there is plenty. That is what I compliment you on, sir. But how to pay all this? Oh, madam, be sure we shall pay it, replied he with a strange smile. Well, I trust to you, said the queen. I have now a project, madam, replied he, bowing, which will put 20 million into the pockets of the nation and 7 million or 8 million into your own. They will be welcome, but where are they to come from? Your majesty is aware that money is not of the same value in all the countries of Europe. Certainly. In Spain, gold is dearer than in France. Your majesty is perfectly right. Gold in Spain has been for the last 5 or 6 years worth considerably more than in France. It results that the exporters gain on 8 ounces of gold, that they send from here about the value of 14 ounces of silver. That is a great deal. Well, madam, I mean to raise the price of gold 1/5 of this difference, and where we have now 30 louis, we shall then have 32. It is a brilliant idea, cried the Queen. I believe it, and am happy that it meets your Majesty's approbation. Always have such, and I am sure you will soon pay our debts. But allow me, madam, to return to what you want of me, said the minister. Would it be possible to have it present? I am afraid it is too much. Calonne smiled in an encouraging manner. 500,000 francs? Continued the Queen. Oh, madam, really your Majesty frightened me. I was afraid it was something great. Then you can, assuredly. Without the King's knowledge? Oh, madam, that is impossible. Every month all my accounts are laid before the King. However, he does not always read them. When can I have it? What day does your Majesty wish for it? On the 5th of next month. Your Majesty shall have it on the 3rd. Thanks, M. de Calonne. My greatest happiness is to please your Majesty, and I beg you never will allow yourself to be embarrassed for want of money. He rose. The Queen gave him her hand to kiss, and then said, After all, this money causes me some remorse, for it is for a caprice. Never mind, someone will gain by it. That is true. You have a charming mode of consoling one. Oh, madam, if we had none of us more reasons for remorse than you, we should all go straight to heaven. But it will be cruel to make the poor people pay for my caprices. Have no scruples, madam. It is not the poor who will pay. How so? Asked the Queen in some surprise. Because, madam, they have nothing to pay with. He bowed and retired. Chapter 56. The Cardinal de Rohan. Hardly had M. de Calonne traversed the gallery, when Madame de la Motte was shown in to the Queen. Madam, said she, the Cardinal is here. She then introduced him and took her leave. The Cardinal, finding himself alone with the Queen, bowed respectfully, without raising his eyes. Monsieur, said the Queen, I have heard of you what has effaced many wrongs. Permit me, madam, said he, trembling with real emotion, to assure your Majesty that these wrongs which you speak I could explain in a few words. I do not forbid you to justify yourself, replied she with dignity, but if what you are about to say throws the smallest shade upon my family or country, you will only wound me still more. Let us leave the subject, and I will only see you under the fresh light, which shows you to be obliging, respectful, and devoted. Devoted until death, replied he. But, said Marie Antoinette with a smile, at present it is a question not of death, but of ruin, and I do not wish you devoted even so far. You shall live and not be ruined, at least not by me, for they say you are ruining yourself. Madam, oh, that is your own business. Only, as a friend, I would counsel you to be economical. The King would like you better. I will become a miser to please your Majesty. Oh, the King, replied she, with an accent on the word, does not love misers either. I will become whatever your Majesty desires, replied he, with a hardly disguised passion. I said then, continued she, that you shall not be ruined for me. You have advanced money on my account, and I have the means of meeting the calls. Therefore, regard the affair for future as in my hands. To finish it, then, it only remains for me to offer the necklace to your Majesty, and drawing out the case, he presented it to her. She took it, but did not open it, and laid it down by her side. She received kindly all his polite speeches, but as she was longing to be left alone with her diamonds, she began to answer somewhat absently. He thought she was embarrassed, and was delighted, thinking it showed at least an absence of indifference. He then kissed her hand and took leave, going away full of enthusiasm and hope. Jean was waiting for him in the carriage, and received his ardent protestations with pleasure. Well, said she, shall you be Richelieu or Mazarin? Have her lips given you encouragement in ambition or love? Are you launched in politics or intrigue? Do not laugh, dear Countess. I am full of happiness. Already. Assist me, and in 3 weeks I may be a minister. Peste. That is a long time. The next payment is in a fortnight. Ah, the Queen has money and will pay, and I shall have only the merit of the intention. It is too little. I would willingly have paid for this reconciliation with the whole sum. Make yourself easy, replied the Countess. You shall have this merit if you desire it. I should have preferred it. The Queen would then have been under an obligation to me. Monseigneur, something tells me you will have the satisfaction. Are you prepared for it? I have mortgaged all my revenue for the ensuing year. Then you have the money? Certainly, for this payment. After that, I do not know what I shall do. Oh, this payment will give you 3 quiet months. Who knows what may happen in 3 months? That is true, but she said that the king wished me to incur no more debt. 2 months in the ministry would set all straight. Countess! Oh, do not be fastidious. If you do not assist yourself, others will. You are right. Where are you going now? Back to the Queen, to hear what she says of your interview. Good. I go to Paris. Why? You should go this evening to the Jeu du Roi. It is good policy to keep your ground. No, Countess. I must attend a rendezvous, for which I received a note this morning. A rendezvous? Yes, and a serious one by the contents of the note. Look. A man's writing, said the Countess, and, opening the note, she read, Monseigneur, someone wishes to see you about raising an important sum of money. This person will wait on you this evening at Paris to solicit the honor of an interview. Anonymous, some beggar? No, Countess. No beggar would expose himself to the risk of being beaten by my servants. Besides, I fancy I have seen the writing before. So au revoir, Countess. Apropos, Monseigneur, if you're going to get a windfall, some large sum, I understand we are to share. Countess, you have brought me luck. I shall not be ungrateful. And they separated. The cardinal was full of happy dreams. The Queen had received him kindly. He would place himself at the head of her party and make it a popular one. He would protect her, and for her sake would abandon his slothful life and live an active one. As soon as he arrived at his hotel, he commenced burning a box full of love letters. Then he called a steward to order some economical reforms, and sat down to his history of English politics. Soon he heard a ring, and a servant entered to announce the person who had written to him that morning. Ask his name, said the cardinal. The man, having inquired, returned and said, M. Le Comte de Cagliostro. Let him come in. The count entered. Mon Dieu! Cried the cardinal. Is it possible? Joseph Balsamo, who was supposed to have perished in the flames? Yes, Monseigneur, more alive than ever. But, sir, you have taken a new name. Yes, Monseigneur. The other recalled too many painful recollections. Possibly. You yourself would not have opened your door to Joseph Balsamo. Oh, yes, sir. Then Monseigneur has a better memory and more honesty than most men. Monsieur, you once rendered me a service. Am I not, Monseigneur, a good specimen of the results of my elixir? I confess it, sir, but you seem above humanity. You, who distribute health in gold all. Health, perhaps, Monseigneur, but not gold. You make no more gold. No, Monseigneur. Why? Because I lost a parcel of an indispensable ingredient which Althotas discovered, but of which I never had the receipt. He has carried that secret with him to the grave. He is dead, then? How? Could you not preserve the life of this man, so useful to you, as you have kept yourself through so many centuries? Because I can guard against illness, but not against such accidents as kill before I can act. He died from an accident, then? The fire in which you thought I died killed him. Or rather, he, weary of life, chose to die. It is strange. No, it is natural. I have 100 times thought of ending my life. But you have not done so. Because I enjoy a state of youth, in which health and pleasure kept me from ennui, but he had chosen one of old age. He was a savant, and cared only for science, and thus youth, with its 1,000 pleasures, would have constantly drawn him from its study. An old man meditates better than a young one. Althotas died a victim to his love of science. I lead a worldly life and do nothing. I live like a planet. Oh, sir, your words and appearance bring to me dreams of my youth. It is 10 years since I saw you. Yes, but if you are no longer a fine young man, you are a prince. Do you remember the day when, in my cabinet, I promised you the love of the woman whose fair locks I consulted? The cardinal turned from pale to red. Terror and joy almost stopped the beating of his heart. I remember, said he. Ah, let me try if I can still play the magician. This fair child of your dreams. What is she doing now? Ah, I suspect you yourself have seen her today. Indeed, you have not long left her. The cardinal could hardly stand. Oh, I beg, sir, he cried. Let us speak of something else, said Cagliostro, sitting down. Chapter 57. Debtor and Creditor. Now that we have renewed our acquaintance, let us converse, said Cagliostro. Yes, replied the cardinal. About the money you wrote of, it was a pretext, was it not? No, monsieur, a serious matter, as it concerns a sum of 500,000 francs. The sum which you lent me? Cried the cardinal, growing pale. Yes, monseigneur, I love to see so good a memory in a great prince like you. The cardinal felt overwhelmed by the blow. At last, trying to smile, he said, I thought that Joseph Balsamo had carried his debt with him to the tomb, as he threw the receipt into the fire. Monseigneur, replied the count, the life of Joseph Balsamo is as indestructible as a sheet on which you wrote. Death cannot conquer the elixir of life. Fire is powerless against asbestos. I do not understand, said the cardinal. You soon will, replied Cagliostro, producing a folded paper, which he offered to the prince. He, before opening it, cried, My receipt! Yes, monseigneur, your receipt. But I saw you burn it. True, I threw it on the fire, but by accident you had written on a piece of asbestos, so that the receipt remained uninjured among the cinders. Monsieur, said the cardinal, haughtily, for he thought this a proof that he had been suspected, believe me, I should not have denied my debt, even without this paper. Therefore you were wrong to deceive me. I deceived you? Yes, you made me think the paper was destroyed. To leave you the calm enjoyment of 500,000 francs. But, sir, why have you left such a sum for 10 years unclaimed? I knew, monseigneur, that it was safe. Various events have deprived me of my wealth. But, knowing that I had this sum in reserve, I have waited patiently until the last moment. And has that arrived? Alas! Yes, monseigneur. So that you can really wait no longer? No, monseigneur. You want it at once, if it please you to pay it. The cardinal was at first silent, through despair. Then he said in a hoarse voice, Leconte, we unhappy princes of the earth do not improvise fortunes as quickly as you enchanters. Oh, monseigneur, said Cagliostro, I would not have asked you for this sum, had I not known beforehand that you had it. I have 500,000 francs, 30,000 in gold, 11,000 in silver, and the rest in notes, which are in this buhl cabinet. The cardinal turned white. You knew this? Yes, monseigneur, and I know you have made great sacrifices to obtain it. I have heard that you will pay heavily for it. Oh, it is too true. But, monseigneur, during these 10 years I have often been in want and embarrassment, yet I have kept this paper back, so as not to trouble you. Therefore I do not think you can complain. Complain? Oh, no, sir. When you graciously lent me such a sum, I must ever remain your debtor. But during those 10 years, there were 20 occasions when I could have repaid you with ease, while today the restitution you demand embarrasses me dreadfully. You, who know everything, who read even hearts and penetrate the doors of cabinets, doubtless know also the purpose for which this money was destined. You are wrong, monseigneur, said Cagliostro coldly. My knowledge has brought me so much misery and disappointment that I no longer seek to penetrate the secrets of others. It concerned me to know whether you had this money, as I wished to claim it. But once having ascertained that, I did not trouble myself to think for what purpose it was destined. Besides, did I know it, it might seem so grave a matter as almost to force me to waive my claim, which really at present I cannot afford to do. Therefore, I prefer to be ignorant. Oh, monsieur, cried the cardinal, do not think I wish to parade my embarrassments in order to elude my debt. You have your own interests to look to. They are guaranteed by this paper, which bears my signature. That is enough. You shall have your money, although I do not think there was any promise to pay. Your Eminence is mistaken. And opening the paper, he read these words. I acknowledge the receipt of 500,000 francs from M. Joseph Balsamo, which I will repay on demand. You see, Monseigneur, that I only asked my right. Besides, as this was a spontaneous loan by me to a man I hardly knew, the payment might have been equally spontaneous, without waiting for me to claim it. But you did not think so. Well, Monseigneur, I withdraw this paper and bid you adieu. No, Count, replied the cardinal. A Rohan must not receive lessons in generosity. Besides, this is a mere question of honesty. Give me the paper, sir, and I will discharge my debt. For a moment Cagliostro hesitated, for the pale face and distressed air of the cardinal inclined him to pity. But quickly hardening himself, he handed him the paper. De Rohan went to the cabinet and took out the money. There, said he, are your 500,000 francs, and I owe you 250,000 more for interest, which you shall have if you will give me time. Monseigneur, said Cagliostro, I lent 500,000 francs to M. de Rohan, which he has paid me. He therefore owes me nothing more. I will take the notes with me and send for the money. I thank you for your compliance with my request. Then, bowing, he left the room. Well, sighed de Rohan, it is likely, at least, that the Queen has the money, and no Joseph Balsamo will come and take it from her. Chapter 58. Family Accounts. It was a day before the first payment was due, and M. de Calonne had so much to do that he had forgotten his promise. The Queen had up to this time waited patiently, relying on his word. She now, however, was beginning to grow uneasy when she received the following note. This evening the business with which your Majesty has charged me will be settled by the council. The money will be with the Queen tomorrow evening. Marie Antoinette recovered all her gaiety directly. After dinner, the king went to the council, but in a rather bad humor. The news from Russia was bad. A vessel had been lost. Some of the provinces refused to pay the taxes. Also, a beautiful map of the world, made by himself, had that day split into two pieces. Vainly, therefore, M. de Calonne produced his accounts. With his usual smiling air, the king continued out of temper. For a long time he sat, as usual, drawing hieroglyphics on a piece of paper, whilst the foreign correspondence was being read, and paying little attention to what passed around him. At last, however, M. de Calonne began to speak of the loan to be raised for the ensuing year. The king became attentive and said, always borrowing, but how is it to be repaid? That is a problem, M. de Calonne, for you to solve. Sire, a loan is only turning a stream from one direction, to cause it to flow more abundantly in another. In deepening the channel, you only increase the supply. Therefore, let's not think of paying, but only of obtaining present supplies. M. de Calonne then explained his plans, which were approved by his colleagues. The king agreed with a sigh. Now we have money, said de Calonne. Let's dispose of it. And he handed a paper to the king with a list of pensions, gifts, and payments to be made. The king glanced at the total. 1,900,000 francs of this. Enormous. But, sire, one item is 500,000 francs. Which? The advance to the Queen. To the Queen? 500,000 francs to the Queen. Impossible. Pardon, sire, it is correct. But there must be a mistake. A fortnight ago Her Majesty received her money. Sire, but if Her Majesty has need of money, and we all know how well she employs it. No, cried the king, the Queen does not want this money. She said to me that she preferred a vessel to jewels. The Queen thinks but of France, and when France is poor, we that are rich ought to lend to France. And if she does require this money, it will be a greater merit to wait for it, and I guarantee that she will wait. The ministers applauded this patriotic speech of the king. Only M. de Calonne insisted. Really, monsieur, said the king, you are more interested for us than we are for ourselves. The Queen, sire, will accuse us of having been backward when her interests were concerned. I will plead your cause. But, sire, the Queen never asks without necessity. If the Queen has wants, they are, I trust, less imperious than those of the poor, and she will be the first to acknowledge it. Sire, I am resolved, said the king, and I fancy I hear the queen in her generosity thanking me for having so well understood her heart. De Calonne bit his lips, and Louis, content with this personal sacrifice, signed all the rest without looking at them. Calonne, you shall tell the queen yourself. Oh, sire, I beg to resign to you the honor. So be it then. Ah, here she comes. Let us meet her. I beg your majesty to excuse me, he replied, and retired quickly. The king approached the queen. She was leaning on the arm of the Comte d'Artois, and seemed very gay. Madam, said the king, have you had a pleasant walk? Yes, sire. And you an agreeable counsel? Yes, madam. I have gained you 500,000 francs. De Calonne has kept his word, thought the queen. Only imagine, madam, continued the king. De Calonne had put down 500,000 francs for you, and I have struck it out. A clear gain, therefore, of that sum. Struck it through, cried the queen, turning pale. But, sire, oh, I am so hungry. I am going to supper. And he went away delighted with his work. Brother, said the queen, seek de Calonne for me. At that moment a note from him was handed to her. Your majesty will have learned that the king refused your grant. It was incomprehensible, and I retired from the council penetrated with grief. Read, said she, passing the note to the count. And there are people, said he, who say that we squander the revenue. This is an extraordinary proceeding. Quite husband-like, said the queen. Adieu, brother. I condole with you, he replied, and it is a lesson for me. I was going to make a request tomorrow for myself. Send for Madame de la Motte, said the queen, when she returned to her room. Chapter 59. Marie Antoinette is queen and Madame de la Motte is woman. The courier dispatched for Madame de la Motte, not finding her home, went to the hotel of the Cardinal de Rohan to inquire if she were there. The well-tutored Swiss replied that she was not, but that he could get any message transmitted to her. The courier, therefore, left word for her to come to the queen as soon as possible. The man had hardly left the door before the message was delivered to Jean as she sat at supper with the cardinal. She set off immediately and was at once introduced into the queen's chamber. Oh, cried the queen on seeing her, I have something to tell you. The king has refused me 500,000 francs. Mon Dieu, murmured the countess. Incredible, is it not? He struck through the item. But it is useless to talk of it. You must return to Paris, and tell the cardinal that since he is so kind, I accept the 500,000 francs he offered me. It is selfish, I know, but what can I do? Oh, madam, cried Jean, we are lost. The cardinal no longer has the money. The queen started. No money, stammered she. No, madam. An unexpected creditor claimed this money from him. It was a debt of honor, and he paid it. The whole 500,000 francs? Yes, madam. And he has no more? No, madam. He told me this an hour and a half ago, and confessed to me that he had no other resources. The queen leaned her head on her hands. Then, after a few moments' reflection, she said, This, countess, is a terrible lesson for me, and a punishment for having done anything, great or small, without the king's knowledge. It was a folly. I had no need of this necklace. True, madam, but the queen consulted only her absolute wants. I must consult before everything the tranquility and happiness of my household. I renounce forever what has begun with so much annoyance. I will sacrifice my vanity on the altar of duty, as Anne de Provence would say, and beautiful as this necklace is, you shall carry it back to Thumbamer and Bassange. Carry it back? Yes. But, madam, your majesty has already given 100,000 francs for it. Well, I shall gain all the rest that was to have been paid for it. But, madam, they will not like to return your money. I give it up on condition of their breaking the contract. Now, countess, that I have come to this determination, I feel at ease once more. This necklace brought with it cares and fears. Diamonds cannot compensate for these. Take it away, countess. The jewelers must be satisfied. They will have their necklace, and 100,000 francs into the bargain. But M. de Rohan? He only acted to give me pleasure, and when he is told it is my pleasure not to have the necklace, he will understand me, I am sure, and if he is a good friend, he will approve and strengthen me in my sacrifice." Saying these words, the queen held out the casket to Jean. She did not take it. "Why not ask for time, madam?" "No, Countess, it is humiliation. One may humiliate oneself for a person one loves, to save a living creature, were it only a dog, but only to keep some sparkling stones. Never, Countess. Take away. But, madam, it will surely become known that your majesty has had the jewels, and was obliged to return them. No one will know anything about it. The jewelers will surely hold their tongues for 100,000 francs. Take it away, Countess, and thank M. de Rohan for his good will towards me. There is no time to lose. Go as soon as possible, and bring me back a receipt for them." "Madam, it shall be done as you wish." She first drove home, and changed her dress, which was too elegant for a visit to the jewelers. Meanwhile she reflected much. She thought still it was a fault for M. de Rohan to allow the queen to part with these jewels, and should she obey her orders without consulting him, would he not have reason to complain? Would he not rather sell himself than let the queen return them? "I must consult him," she thought, "but after all he never can get the money." She then took the necklace from the case, once more to look at and admire it. 1,600,000 francs in my possession. True, it is but for an hour. To carry away such a sum in gold, I should want 2 horses. Yet how easily I hold it here. But I must decide. Shall I go to the cardinal, or take it direct to the jewelers, as the queen ordered? And the receipt, in what form shall I get it, so as not to compromise the queen, the cardinal, or myself? Shall I consult? If he loved me more and could give me the diamonds. She sat down again and remained nearly an hour in deep thought. Then she rose, with a strange look in her eyes, and rang the bell with a determined air. She ordered a coach, and in a few minutes she reached the house of the journalist, M. Retaux de Villette. Chapter 60. The receipt of M.M., Baymer and Bassange, and the gratitude of the Queen. The result of Madame de la Motte's visit to M. Retaux de Villette appeared the next day. At 7 o'clock in the morning, she sent to the Queen the following paper. "We, the undersigned, acknowledge having received back again the diamond necklace sold to the Queen for 1,600,000 francs, the diamonds not suiting Her Majesty, who has paid us for our loss and trouble 100,000 francs. The Queen, now tranquil about the whole affair, locked up the receipt and thought no more of it. But, in strange contradiction to this receipt, the jewelers received a visit 2 days after from M. de Rohan, who felt uneasy about the payment. If the installment had not been paid, he expected to find them naturally annoyed, but to his great satisfaction, they received him with smiles. "The Queen has paid, then?" he asked. "No, Monseigneur. The Queen could not procure the money, as the King had refused it to her, but she has guaranteed the debt, and that fully satisfies us." "So much the better. But how?" "Through the Countess." "No, Monseigneur. On hearing of the King's refusal, which soon became public, we wrote to Madame de la Motte." "When?" "Yesterday." "And she replied?" "By one word. Wait! That evening we received from the Queen, by a courier, a letter. A letter to you? Or rather a guarantee in due form." "Let me see it." "Oh, we would with pleasure, but Her Majesty enjoins that it is not to be shown anyone." "Then you are safe?" "Perfectly, Monseigneur. The Queen acknowledges the debt?" "Fully. And engages to pay?" 500,000 francs in 3 months, the rest in 6. And she adds, "Let the affair rest between ourselves. You will have no cause to repent it." "I am charmed that it is settled," said the cardinal. "We must now raise the veil, though, doubtless, our readers comprehend how Jean de la Motte had acted towards her benefactress, and how she had managed to satisfy both the Queen and the jewelers by borrowing the pen of M. Retaux. 3 months were thus obtained for completion of her design of crime and deception, and within 3 months everything would be arranged. She went to de Rohan and repeated to him what the jewelers had already told him. He asked if the Queen remembered his good intentions. She drew a picture of her gratitude, which enchanted him. Her intention had been to sell some of the diamonds to the value of 100,000 crowns, and then pass over to England, where, when necessary, she could dispose of the remainder. But her first essay frightened her. Some offered despicably small sums for stones. Others went into raptures, declaring they had never seen such diamonds but in the necklace of Embamer and Bassange. She abandoned this course, therefore, which she saw might soon bring about her ruin. She shut up the diamonds carefully and resolved to wait, but her position was critical. A few words of explanation between the Queen and the Cardinal, and all would be discovered. She consoled herself by thinking that the Cardinal was too much in love not to fall into all the snares she might lay for him. One thought alone occupied her: how to prevent their meeting. That he would not be long satisfied. Without an interview, she knew. What should she do? Persuade him to ask for one and offend the Queen by presumption. But then the Queen would speak her anger out, and all would come to light. She must compromise her, and endeavor so to close her lips. But if they met by chance, what remained for her but flight? That was easy. A few hours would suffice. Then again, she thought of the name she would leave behind her and bear with her. No longer a woman of rank, but a thief whom justice only does not reach, because she is too far off. No, she would not fly if she could help it. She would try what audacity and skill could do. Remain here and act between them. To prevent them from meeting, that is the difficulty, as he is in love, and a prince who has a right to see the Queen, and she is now grateful and will no longer fly from him. But if I excite him to too open an admiration and disgust her, I alienate them more than ever. She will take fire easily, but what I want is something to make the Queen tremble as well as him. Something which would give me power to say, if you accuse me, I will accuse you and ruin you. Leave me my wealth, and I will you your honor. This is what I must seek for and what I must find. Chapter 61. The Prisoner. Meanwhile, a different scene was passing in the Rue St. Claude, where Emma Cagliostro had lodged Oliva in the old house to keep her from the pursuit of the police. There she lived, retired, and almost happy. Cagliostro lavished care and attentions on her, and she liked being protected by this great lord, who asked nothing from her in return. Only what did he want? She often asked herself, uselessly, for he must have some object. Her amour propre made her decide that after all he was in love with her, and she began to build castles in the air in which we must confess poor Beausire now very rarely had a place. Therefore the 2 visits a week paid to her by Cagliostro were always eagerly looked forward to, and between them she amused herself with her dreams and playing the great lady. However, her books were soon read through, at least such as suited her taste, and pictures and music soon wearied her. She soon began to regret her mornings passed at the windows of the Rue Dauphine, where she used to sit to attract the attention of the passers-by, and her delightful promenades in the Quartier Saint-Germain, where so many people used to turn to look after her. True, the police agents were formidable people, but what availed safety if she was not amused? So she first regretted her liberty, and then regretted Beausire. Then she began to lose her appetite for want of fresh air, for she had been used to walk every day. One day, when she was bemoaning her fate, she received an unexpected visit from Cagliostro. He gave his accustomed signal, and she opened the door, which was always kept bolted, with an eagerness which showed her delight. And, seizing his hand, she cried, in an impatient voice, "Monsieur, I am ennuyée here. This is unlucky, my dear child. I shall die here." "Really?" "Yes." "Well," said he, soothingly, "do not blame me. Blame the lieutenant of police who persecutes you. You exasperate me with your sang-froid, monsieur. I would rather you flew in a passion." "Confess, mademoiselle, that you are unreasonable," said he, seating himself. "It is all very well for you to talk," replied she. "You come and go as you like. You breathe the fresh air. Your life is full of pleasure. I vegetate in the space to which you have limited me, and your assistance is useless to me if I am to die here." "Die," said the Count, smiling. "You behave very badly to me. You forget that I love passionately." "And Beausire?" "Yes, Beausire, I love him. I always told you so. Did you think I had forgotten him? So little did I think so, mademoiselle, that I bring you news of him." "Ah! He is a charming person, young and handsome, is he not? Full of imagination and fire, rather rough toward me, but that is his way of showing his love. Therefore I wish to take you back to him. You did not wish that a month ago." "No, but when I see how you love him." "Ah, You are laughing at me. Oh, no. You have resisted all my advances so well. Yes, have I not? It was your love for him. But yours, then, was not very tenacious. No, I am neither old enough nor ugly enough, neither poor enough nor foolish enough to run the risk of a refusal, and I saw that you would always have preferred Beausire. Oh, but, cried the coquette, using her eyes, which had remained idle so long, this famous compact which you propose to me, the right of always giving me your arm, of visiting me when you liked, did that give you no hope? Cagliostro did not reply, but turned his eyes as if dazzled by her glances. Let us return to Beausire, she said, piqued at his indifference. Why have you not brought him here? It would have been a charity. He is free. Because, replied Cagliostro, Beausire has too much imagination, and has also embroiled himself with the police. What has he done? Oh, a delightful trick, a most ingenious idea. I call it a joke, but matter-of-fact people, and you know how matter-of-factum the cross can be, call it a theft. A theft? Cried Oliva, frightened. Is he arrested? No, but he is pursued. And is he in danger? That I cannot tell you. He is well hunted for, and if you were together, the chances of his being taken would be doubled. Oh, yes, he must hide, poor fellow. I will hide too. Let me leave France, monsieur. Pray render me this service. For if I remain shut up here, I shall end by committing some imprudence. What you call imprudence? Oh, just get some fresh air. I do not want to prevent you getting fresh air. You would lose your beauty, and Beausire would love you no longer. Open the windows as much as you like. Oh, I see I have offended you. You care no more about me. Offended me, how? Because you had taken a fancy to me, and I repulsed you. A man of your consequence, a handsome man like you, has a right to be angry at being rejected by a poor girl like me. But do not abandon me, sir, I entreat. And she put her arms round his neck. Poor little thing, said he, kissing her forehead. Do not be afraid. I am not angry or offended. Indeed, were you to offer me your love, I should refuse you. So much do I desire to inspire pure sentiments. Besides, I should think you influenced more by gratitude than love. So we will remain as we are, and I will continue to protect you. Oliva let his hand fall, humiliated and duped by the pretended generosity of Cagliostro. Oh, I shall say henceforth, she cried, that there are men superior to what I ever thought. All women are good, thought Cagliostro. If you only touch the right chord, from this evening, he said aloud, you shall move to other rooms, where the windows look on Menilmontant and the Bellevue. You need not fear to show yourself to neighbors. They are all honest, simple people who will never suspect you. Only keep a little back from a window, lest anyone passing through the street should see you. At least you will have air and sunshine. Oliva looked pleased. Shall I conduct you there now? Oh, yes. He took a light, and she followed him up a staircase to the third story, and entered a room, completely furnished and ready for occupation. One would think it was prepared for me, she said. Not for you, but for myself. I like this place and often come here to sleep. Nothing shall be wanted to make you comfortable, and your femme de chambre shall attend you in a quarter of an hour. And he left the room. The poor prisoner sat down by her elegant bed, murmuring, I understand nothing of all this. Chapter 62. The lookout. Oliva went to bed and slept better. She admired the Count, whom she did not in the least understand. She could no longer think him timid. She did not suspect that he was only cold and insensible. She felt pleased at the perfect safety in which he assured her she was, and in the morning she examined her new rooms, and found them nobly and luxuriously furnished, and enjoyed immensely her privilege of going out into the balcony, filled with flowers, and where she got sunshine and fresh air, although she drew back whenever she saw anyone approaching or heard a carriage coming. There were not many, however, in the Rue Saint-Claude. She could see the chateau of Menilmontant, the great trees in the cemetery, myriads of houses of all colors, and she could see the fields beyond, full of children at play, and the peasants trotting along the roads on their donkeys. All this charmed Oliva, who had always a heart of love for the country, since she had left Taverny Maison Rouge. At last, getting tired of this distant view, She began to examine the houses opposite to her. In some, she saw birds in cages, and in one, hung with yellow silk curtains and ornamented with flowers, she thought she could distinguish a figure moving about. She called her femme de chambre to make inquiries about them. But the woman could only show her mistress all the churches and tell her the names of the streets. She knew nothing of the neighbors. Oliva therefore sent her away again and determined to watch for herself. She saw some open their doors and come out for a walk, and others variously occupied. At last she saw the figure of a woman seat herself in an armchair in the room with the yellow curtains and abandon her head for an hour and a half to a hairdresser, while he built up one of those immense edifices worn at that time, in which minerals, vegetables, and even animals were introduced. At last, it was complete. Oliva thought she looked pretty and admired her little foot, encased in a rose-colored slipper, which rested on another chair. She began to construct all sorts of romances about this lady, and made various movements to attract her attention, but she never turned her eyes that way, as that room had never before been occupied, and she began to despair. The lady was, of course, Jean de Valois, who was deeply absorbed in devising some scheme for preventing the Queen and the Cardinal from meeting. At last, Oliva, turning suddenly round, knocked over a flower pot which fell from the balcony with a crash. At the sound, the lady turned and saw her, and clasping her hand, she called out, "The Queen!" But looking again, she murmured, "Oh, I sought for a means to gain my end, and I have found one." Then, hearing a sound behind her, Oliva turned and saw Cagliostro, and came in directly. Chapter 63. The Two Neighbors. Cagliostro recommended her using the greatest circumspection, and, above all, not to make friends with her neighbors, but she did not feel disposed to relinquish the intercourse which she hoped for with her fair neighbor opposite. She, however, promised to obey him, but he was no sooner gone than she returned to her balcony, hoping to attract her attention again. Nor was she disappointed, for Jean, who was watching for her, acknowledged it with a bow and by kissing her hand. This went on for 2 days. Jean was ever ready to wave her a good morning or an adieu when she went out. Cagliostro, at his next visit, informed Oliva that an unknown person had paid a visit to her hotel. "What do you mean?" cried Oliva. "A very pretty and elegant lady presented herself here, and asked the servant who inhabited this story, and wished to see you. I fear you are discovered. You must take care. The police have female spies as well as male, and I warn you that if M. de Crossan claims you, I cannot refuse to give you up." Oliva was not all frightened. She recognized the portrait of her opposite neighbor, and felt delighted at this advance, but she dissembled with the Count and said, "Oh, I am not at all frightened. No one has seen me. She could not have met me, but she said a lady in these rooms. Well, I will be more careful than ever, and besides, this house is so impenetrable. Yes, without climbing the wall, which is not easy, or opening the little door with a key like mine, which I never lend, no one can come in. So I think you are safe." Oliva overwhelmed the Count with thanks and protestations, but at 6 o'clock the next morning she was out in the balcony. She had not long to wait before Jean appeared, who, after looking cautiously up and down the street, and observing that all the doors and windows were still closed and that everything was quiet, called across, "I wish to pay you a visit, madam. Is it impossible to see you?" "Alas, yes," said Oliva. "Can I send a letter?" "Oh, no." Jean, after a moment's thought, left her balcony, but soon returned with a crossbow, with which she shot a little wooden ball right through the open window of Oliva's room. She picked it up and found wrapped round it the following note: "You interest me, beautiful lady. I find you charming, and love you only by having seen you. Are you a prisoner? I vainly tried to obtain admission to you. Does the enchanter who guards you never let anyone approach you? Will you be my friend? If you cannot go out, you can at least write, and as I go out when I please, wait till you see me pass, and then throw out your answer. Tie a thread to your balcony, and attach your note to it. I will take it off and fasten mine on, and in the dark no one will observe us. If your eyes have not deceived me, I count on a return of my affection and esteem, and between us we will outwit anyone." Oliva trembled with joy when she read this note. She replied as follows: "I love you as you love me. I am a victim of the wickedness and cruelty of men, but he who keeps me here is a protector and not a tyrant. He comes to see me nearly every day. I will explain all this some day, but alas, I cannot go out. I am locked up. Oh, if I could but see you, there is so much we cannot write. Then, when evening came, she let the thread fall over the balcony. Jean, who was below, caught it, and half an hour afterward attached to it the following answer. You seem generally alone. How is your house secured? With a key? Who has this key? Could you not borrow or steal it? It would be no harm, but would procure you a few hours of liberty or a few walks with a friend who would console you for all your misfortune. Oliva devoured this eagerly. She had remarked that when the Count came in, he put down his lantern and the key on a chiffonier. So she prepared some wax to take the impression of the key at his first visit. This she accomplished without his once turning to look at her, and as soon as he was gone, she put it into a little box and lowered it to Jean with a note. The next day she received the following answer. My dearest, tonight at 11 o'clock, you will descend and unlock the door, when you will find yourself in the arms of your faithful friend. Oliva felt more charmed than with the most tender love letter that she had ever received. At the appointed time she went down and met Jean, who embraced her tenderly, and made her get into a carriage that waited a little way off. They remained out 2 hours, and parted with kisses and protestations of affection. Jean learned the name of Oliva's protector. She feared this man and determined to preserve the most perfect mystery as to her plans. Oliva confided everything to her about Beausire, the police, and all. Jean gave herself out for a young lady of rank, living here secretly, without the knowledge of her friends. One knew all, the other nothing. From this day, then, it was no longer necessary to throw out notes. Jean had her key and carried off Oliva whenever she pleased. De Cagliostro suspects nothing? She often asked Oliva. Oh, no, she would reply. I do not think he would believe it if I told him. A week passed thus. Chapter 64. The Rendezvous. When Charney arrived at his estates, the doctor ordered him to keep within doors and not receive visitors, orders which he rigorously obeyed, to the great disappointment of all the young ladies in the neighborhood, who were most anxious to see this young man, reputed to be at once so brave and so handsome. His malady, however, was more mental than bodily. He was devoured by regrets, by longings, and by ennui. So, after a week, he set off one night on horseback, and before the morning was at Versailles. He found a little house there, outside the park, which had been empty for some time. It had been inhabited by one of the king's huntsmen, who had cut his throat, and since then the place had been deserted. There Charney lived in profound solitude, but he could see the queen from afar when she walked in the park with her ladies, and when she went in again he could see her windows from his own, and watch her lights every evening until they disappeared. And he even fancied he could see her shadow pass before the window. One evening he had watched all this as usual, and after sitting 2 hours longer at his window, was preparing to go to bed, for midnight was striking from a neighboring clock, when the sound of a key turning in a lock arrested his attention. It was that of a little door leading into the park, only 20 paces from his cottage, and which was never used except sometimes on hunting days. Whoever was that entered did not speak, but closed it again quietly, and entered an avenue under his windows. At first Charney could not distinguish them through the thick wood, though he could hear the rustling of dresses. But as they emerged into an open space in bright moonlight, he almost uttered a cry of joy in recognizing Queen Marie Antoinette and a glimpse of her face. She held in her hand a beautiful rose. Stifling his emotion, he stepped down as quietly as possible into the park, and behind a clump of trees, where he could see her better. Oh, thought he, were she but alone, I would brave tortures or death itself, that I might once fall on my knees before her and tell her, I love you. Oh, were she but menaced by some danger, how gladly would he have risked his life to save hers. Suddenly the two ladies stopped, and the shortest, after saying a few words to her companion in a low voice, left her. The queen, therefore, remained alone, and Charney felt inclined to run towards her, but he reflected that the moment she saw him she would take fright and call out, and that her cries would first bring back her companion and then the guards, that his retreat would be discovered and he should be forced to leave it. In a few minutes the other lady reappeared, but not alone. Behind her came a man muffled up in a large cloak, and whose face was concealed by a slouch hat. This man advanced with an uncertain and hesitating step to where the queen stood. When he took off his hat and made a low bow, the surprise which Charny felt at first soon changed into a more painful feeling. Why was the queen in the park at this time of night? Who was this man who was waiting for her, and whom she had sent her companion to fetch? Then he remembered that the queen often occupied herself with foreign politics, much to the annoyance of the king. Was this a secret messenger from Schönbrunn or from Berlin? This idea restored him to some degree of composure. The queen's companion stood a few steps off, anxiously watching lest they should be seen. But it was as necessary to guard against spies in a secret political rendezvous as in one of love. After a short time, Charny saw the gentleman bow to the ground and turned to leave when the companion of the queen said to him, "Stop." He stopped, and the two ladies passed close to Charny, who could even recognize the queen's favorite scent, vervain mixed with mignonette. They passed on and disappeared. A few moments after the gentleman passed, he held in his hand a rose, which he pressed passionately to his lips. Did this look political? Charny's head turned. He felt a strong impulse to rush on this man and tear the flower from him, when the queen's companion reappeared and said, "Come, Monseigneur." He joined her quickly, and they went away. Charny remained in a distracted state, leaning against a tree.